Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Sham Kagod here. Now, before I start the discussion, if there is no issue with the sound, can you please give me a thumbs up? Please do let me know that I'm audible to you so that we can start the discussion. Done. Great. Let's start. So yesterday, what we did? Yesterday, we started with agriculture sector. We started with the concept of agriculture sector. In agriculture sector, what we have discussed? I hope you remember what we have discussed. In agriculture sector, we started with the concept of MSP, correct? We started with the concept of MSP, right? That is, MSP stands for minimum support price. Minimum support price, right? When the MSP was introduced back in 66 and 67, why it was introduced? Because there was a green revolution. We promoted more and more productivity and production, and this would simply mean, right, a lot of supply would there in the market. Higher supply means market prices would come down, the farmers would be affected, etc. So initially it was introduced 66 and 67 for providing certain comfort to the sellers in the market. Okay. After that, certain important points. We covered 23 crops under MSP, more than 20 crops under MSP. Who will announce MSP in India? It is the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, CCEA, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. So the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices will give recommendation to the Cabinet Committee, and it is the Cabinet Committee which will announce MSP. Now, although MSP is announced for more than 20 crops, the government through Food Corporation of India doesn't procure all the crops, because we have discussed yesterday, based on the requirement. Based on the requirement, they will procure from the market. Right. After that, MSP doesn't have any legal backing. Legal backing simply means there is no law which says that there should be MSP given. There is no such law. Right. So there is no legal backing for minimum support price. After that, we have discussed the concept of if there's a legal backing provided, what will happen? What are the advantages? And if no lacking, if there is a legal backing given, what are the disadvantages? What are the issues or concerns? So that is what we have discussed in the context of MSP. After that, we have discussed a food subsidy. Do you remember this? We have discussed a food subsidy. What is food subsidy? Basically, the government of India, how much money they will spend for purchasing and basically providing this food grains in the market. That is basically idea of a food subsidy. In the context of food subsidy, we have discussed National Food Security Act, NFSA, National Food Security Act. What are the important provisions of NFSA? We are covering 2/3 of total India's population. 2/3 of total India's population. That is basically, right, more than 80 crore people. More than 80 crore people. In fact, please do let me know. Last week, have you read one of the article regarding NFSA that I had given you? Not this week, last week, right? There was one article which said there is a scope of covering more beneficiaries, right? More beneficiaries under NFSA, right? So please read that article. So current affairs, connected to current affairs. In fact, when I say current affairs, today's, I don't know how many of you have read today's newspaper, but if you have read Beyond Hindu, in business line, in today's business line, there is an article regarding nano DAP. I don't know how many of you have read today's newspaper, but I'm just telling you, in business line, there is an article regarding nano DAP, nano diammonium phosphate. Please do let me know. One of the factors that we covered yesterday in agriculture sector was nano fertilizers, correct? Please do let me know. Participate early morning 10 o'clock. You should be right very active now. Right. Yesterday, one of the concepts that we covered was nano fertilizers. So yesterday in Gujarat, there is a place Kalol in Gujarat, and right in this particular place, now a new plant to produce nano diammonium phosphate has been inaugurated yesterday. That is the precise reason this article was there in today's business line newspaper. And nano DAP, and the Minister for Cooperation, right, Mr. Amit Shah, inaugurated this plant, and the article basically stated that if we basically start producing this nano DAP, then the self-reliance on this fertilizer will increase, import dependency will come down, and government of India will be able to save 10,000 crore rupee worth of forex reserves. Tell me whether this makes sense to you or not. Once we start manufacturing the nano DAP, our import dependence will come down, and will be able to save 10,000 crore worth of forex reserves. Right, savings of forex reserves. Yesterday I should have told you, that was one point I've missed in the context of nano fertilizer. Please remember this as well. So again, read current affairs. Please read current affairs. So food subsidy, we have covered NFSA, and through public distribution system, we are ensuring that total two-thirds of India's population will be getting 5 kgs of food grains free of a cost. That's very important now. Free of a cost of 5 kgs of food grains is being provided to the beneficiaries in India. Who is going to identify the beneficiary? The state will identify the beneficiary. There's a grievance redressal mechanism. If you're a priority household beneficiary, 5 kgs of free food grains. If you are a beneficiary under Antyodaya Anna Yojana, you'll be given 35 kgs per household. And that is what we have discussed in the context of food subsidy. Then agriculture credit, formal sources, informal sources, what was the problem, etc., etc. Right? We have discussed in agriculture credit, based on the tenure, how do we divide it into short term, medium term, as well as a long term, etc. Then we have discussed, the recommendation regarding warehousing. What is warehousing? Why do we require warehousing or storage in India? The recommendations of Shanta Kumar Committee, etc. Right. After that, we have discussed technology in agriculture sector. Technology in agriculture sector, that is nano DAP or nano fertilizers, silo warehousing, drone utilization, etc., etc. Right. So that is what we have covered in technology. After that, we covered food processing. What is the need for food processing? Why there is a higher demand for processed foods in India? What is the definition of food processing? And what government of India has done in order to promote food processing? And finally, are there any concerns or any issues related to food processing in India? So this is what we have covered in the agriculture sector. After that, we started with industries chapter. After that, we started with the industries chapter, industries. And in industries, what we have covered? Industrial Policy of 1948, Industrial Development Regulation Act of 1951, Industrial Policy of 1991. Right? Why did we were forced to have an Industrial Policy of 1991, which is also very famously referred to as LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And within these three set of reforms, yesterday we discussed liberalization and privatization. And in the context of discussing privatization, I discussed idea of a disinvestment. Why do we do disinvestment? A committee recommendation regarding disinvestment, that is Rangarajan committee. If disinvestment is done, how the funds are utilized, National Investment Fund, etc. Then we have discussed the new disinvestment policy, that is dividing the sectors into strategic as well as a non-strategic. After that, we discussed basically new current affairs concepts, that is a national monetization pipeline and national infrastructure pipeline. So this is the list of the topics that we have covered yesterday. Let me start today with the third pillar, that is globalization. Right? That is the third one, globalization. Now, what do you mean by globalization? Please understand. Globalization generally refers to, just a second. Globalization generally refers to a process that is associated with increasing openness, growing economic independence, and a deepening economic integration in the world economy. I'll give you an explanation, don't worry. What is globalization? It is a process. It is a process wherein the dependence in the global market for countries will increase, integration of the economies will increase, etc. For example, sir, what do you mean by this? Can I simply say the idea of a trade agreement? Idea of a trade agreement is nothing but we are integrating two different economies or more than two different economies. Please participate now. Can I say idea of integration, that is trade agreement? Trade agreement, for example, India Australia trade agreement, India UAE trade agreement, India European Union trade agreement. If these trade agreements are signed and implemented, what are we doing? Are we not increasing right? Are we not increasing, right, basically the integration of economies? Are we not increasing the integration? That's a basic idea. So globalization basically means what? We are increasing openness. Openness means trade will increase, movement of labor will increase, movement of capital will increase, growing economic independence, and a deepening economic integration in the global market. That is, the economies across the world will start increasing, size will start increasing, right? The agreements will start being implemented, which means a trade will take place, services will be exported, imported, etc. That is basic idea for globalization. Now, if this is very difficult for you to understand, globalization is defined as increase in the flow of goods, services, capital, people, and ideas across international boundaries. There are two students who are saying, simplify the definition. This is a simple definition then. What is globalization? It's a process wherein trade across countries will increase. It's a process wherein movement of the people, different countries, from different countries will increase. Capital movement will increase. Imports will increase. Exports will increase. That is, international trade will improve. And right, ideas in the form of, let's say, investments, ideas in the form of intellectual property rights, etc., will move across the global, that is across international boundaries. So I've given you two definitions. Whichever you're comfortable with, please pick up that definition. Now, how do you understand whether India is going for globalization? How do you understand it? For example, please tell me, post 1991, has India's trade with international market increased? Let me know. Right, india's a trade in the international market, has it increased? Yes or no? India's a trade in terms of goods, India's trade in terms of services, India's a right inflow of capital, outflow of capital, inflow of human labor, outflow of human labor. Don't you think, compared to 1991 or before 1991, after that there is an increase in all of this? Of course, yes. So whenever you have between one country and the rest of the world, between one country and the rest of world, whenever you have reduced the trade barriers, increased the trade will take place, technology will start flowing in, flowing out, investment will start flowing in, flowing out, labor will start flowing in and flowing out, right, etc. So whenever these things will happen, we simply say country is moving towards globalization, country is moving towards globalization, right? So that is a basic idea. Now there are two questions here. Somebody is saying, sir, please expand nano. My dear, nano is not acronym. Nano, have you heard of nanotechnology? Please do let me know, have you heard of nanotechnology? If you are preparing for UPSC, you should have heard of it, right? So that nano we are using in case of fertilizers. Nano is not a short form. And there are two students who are saying, please expand nano. Right? There is no expansion. Nano is a name itself. Right? It is representing a type of technology, nano DAP, nano, right? Nano urea, nano DAP, etc. Will labor flow in? Of course, yes. Now, my dear, please compare it to post 1991, pre 1991. Don't you think post 1991 we are able to receive lot of labor expertise from the international market? I hope you understand. Right? Please do let me know. Compared to before 1991, post 1991, if you are a company, will you not get expertise from the international market? Will you not hire certain experts from the international market to provide you services for? Of course, yes. So labor can also keep on moving in or moving out with reduced barriers. Okay. So these are some of the important points regarding the concept of globalization. Any difficulty here? How globalization will lead to economic independence? My dear, please tell me, with more and more globalization, will you attract more investments in India? Simple question. Think of it. Will you attract more and more investments in India? If you attract more investment, rather than rather than importing iPhone, you will manufacture iPhones in India. So now you are more dependent on the import, or you are more dependent, are you more independent? Think of it. with this kind of a globalization, right, are you becoming more dependent on the import, or are you becoming more and more independent economically? So it will promote growth in respective countries, will become more and more independent. Okay. Now, having said so, please understand this. Having said so, does globalization means complete independence? Independence means no connection with the rest of the world? Of course, no. That is also not possible. If you ask me, sir, will globalization essentially mean India will not be connected to rest of the world? Of course, no. That is wrong. How? Let me prove it. If something happens in, right, let's say Russia, something happens in Ukraine, something happens in European Union, something happens in USA, will India be affected because of it? All of you agree? Will India be affected by it? Of course, yes, because there are trade relations. We are importing, we are exporting. So if something happens in the global market because of the interconnectedness, because of the trade connectivity, India will be affected. Right? So this is the idea. In certain areas, because of it, you might become less dependent on the international market. But because of globalization, because of trade relations, or let's say investment relations, that will also have an impact on you. Okay. Next, has India gone for globalization? After 1991, has India approached, right, or is India moving towards globalization? Answer is yes. How do I prove it? Have a look at this. Are we not attracting more and more foreign investments in India through FDI and FPI? There are two students who are asking long form of FDI and FPI. My dear, if you are old student, you should not be asking this. And moreover, FDI stands for foreign direct investment. FPI stands for foreign portfolio investment. We will discuss that after some time. Don't worry. Today we'll discuss both FDI and FPI. So, Government of India has allowed inflow of EFPI in India. Do you remember this yesterday? Under liberalization, one of the points was post 1991 we have allowed foreign investors, institutional investors, to invest in India's stock market. Post 1991 we have opened most of these industries for the participation of private sector, wherein even foreign investments are allowed into India now. Can I give you examples? Tell me, in these sectors, is foreign investment allowed in India or not? Telecom sector, civil aviation sector, civil aviation sector, software industries, right? Rather than writing software, can I write overall services sector? So please do let me know. In these areas, today are we allowing private foreign investments? Of course, yes. We are allowing. Right? There are so many areas. There are so many areas, sectors, industries where today Government of India promotes foreign investment. Now, basically means we are reducing the barriers. We are allowing investment to come, investment to go out. Right? We are promoting globalization. Second one, we also have implemented exchange rate reforms. That is post 1993. Right? Do you remember this? We have implemented managed floating exchange rate, a type of floating that is managed floating exchange rate, which means now there is no control of government or RBI on the exchange rate. It will be driven by the market forces. Right? Don't you think imports will be priced appropriately now? Exports will be priced as per the market supply and demand. Will it not promote a trade between India and the rest of the world? Controls imposed by the government in various industries, various sectors, various areas, we have basically withdrawn these kind of controls. With that, we are basically promoting private sector investment. We are promoting banking sector investments, that is foreign banks are coming into India. We are promoting lot of these participation of foreign companies as well as domestic companies within Indian economy. Right? Labor, right? We can import labor now. Labor from India is exported to rest of the world. Services are imported, services are exported, which means we are basically promoting idea of globalization. Now, if you want to critically evaluate globalization, critical evaluation of globalization, is it always good? Is it always bad? No, you cannot completely make a decision. You can have certain points in favor of globalization and against globalization. For example, what are the benefits of globalization? Point number one, with markets opening up, India will be able to get access to more countries, will be able to export more and more, and get access to investment, get access to labor. Is it good for India? Simple question. Is it good for India? Of course, yes. Second one, higher investment is generally associated with capital formation as well as higher GDP growth rate. That is also good for us. Third one, higher investment means what? More jobs will be generated. Higher investment means more job generation. That is also good for us because we have so many people who are searching for jobs in India. Annually, as per one estimate, more than 10 million people join the labor force. Meaning what? More than 10 million people in India start searching for jobs. So if we are able to create more and more jobs, that is going to be beneficial. That is going to work in my favor. Fourth one, if job generation increases, if per capita starts to increase, don't you think it will improve standard of living of Indians? If you want a proof of it, what was the standard of living of Indians before 1991 and post 1991? Don't you think there's a huge improvement in that? There is a huge improvement, and that generally happens. Why? If more jobs are created, more salary is paid. More salary means automatically what we will start doing? We'll start purchasing better quality goods, better quality services, etc. So standard of living, quality of living will automatically start increasing. And finally, we will be able to get access to technology as well as innovation. We'll be able to get access to technology as well as innovation. But having said so, please think of it. We will get access to technology, but should we be dependent on import of technology? Please do let me know. Should we be dependent on import of technology? Which means these kind of technology that will start importing it, don't you think our dependency will start increasing because of globalization? Rather than importing technology, don't you think we should develop these technologies within the domestic market? That is basically the idea. Basically the idea, and that's the reason government is promoting so many schemes: Make in India, Startup India, Production Linked Incentive, etc., etc. And by the way, because I'm talking about technology, please let me know. Please do let me know. In today's newspaper, Hindu newspaper, by the way, how many of you have read regarding a new scanning technology, scanning machine that has been developed within India? Let me know. A new scanning machine that has been developed within India, which is yet to start to which we are about to implement for scanning, right? Let's say in the healthcare sector. Some of you are saying no. Okay, just out of curiosity. Okay, just out of curiosity, I'm asking. When do you think you will read newspapers? Those students who are saying no, please do let me know. When do you think you will read newspapers? If not today, when? If not tomorrow, when? If not in the next 1 month, when? Sir, in evening. You'll read newspapers in the evening. Do you have time in the evening today, Sunday? I hope you understand. Do you have newspaper reading time today on Sunday? Because classes will go until 8 o'clock. Right? If you read that, very good. Otherwise, if you plan to read tomorrow, then who will read tomorrow's newspaper? If you plan to read day after tomorrow, who is going to read the day after tomorrow's newspaper? Day after tomorrow is Independence Day, right? You will have your own plans, right? Independence Day means holiday, so you'll have your own plans. So that day's newspaper, Sunday's newspaper, when will you read? Will you read it? So my only concern is you people will have to find time. You will have to read newspapers, right? Please read. If you ask me, please read it. Okay, so these are the benefits which are associated with the idea of globalization. Okay, next, the issues or concerns. Issues or concerns. By the way, if you ask me, sir, in today's Hindu newspaper, any article was important, I would recommend you people to read economics. Only one article was there that was basically regarding not banning, licensing regime. The concept of import licensing, idea of import licensing. That there is very nice article regarding import licensing. Please read that. But if you ask me, please read about this machine as well. That's very important, because if you have seen it, please do let me know. Whenever you have gone to hospitals, the kind of technology the hospitals are using, Do you think all this technology is produced in India? Think of it. All of this technology is produced in India. No, most of the technology we import from rest of the world, right? So which means we should be able to invest and have our own reliant technology within India. Because tell me now, rather than importing all of this machinery, if I can invest and develop a similar technology within India, can we provide healthcare services in a much affordable prices? I'm not saying it will be very cheap. I'm never saying it is going to be very cheap. But can I say, rather than importing the machinery, if I develop this technology within India, if I start providing using this machine the services compared to importing machinery, don't you think healthcare services will slightly become cheaper, slightly become affordable compared to earlier situation? So argument is simply this: we need to invest a lot of money in research and development. We need to invest a lot of money in research and development. In fact, I'll just take a detour here. Couple of weeks ago, there was an article which was written by Mr. Ashok Gulati. Please read that article if it is possible, right? Please read that article. There was an article written by Mr. Ashok Gulati. That is, the argument of the article was very simple. Mr. Gulati writes, rather than government providing so many subsidies to the farmers in the agriculture sector, what we should do is, right, rationalize the subsidies, reduce the amount of subsidies, and use that amount of subsidy that you have saved to invest in research and development. To invest in research and development. Research and development where? In agriculture sector. For example, right, look at this. More than 85% of the farming in India is marginal farming. I hope you understand. More than 85% of the farming in case of India is small and marginal farming, which means what? Most of the production that is done in India is done on a piece of land less than 1 hectare. Which means, again, understand the importance of it, which also means what will happen to most of the farmers' incomes in India. And most of the farmers earn very little income. And if the farmers are earning very little income, will they be able to invest and purchase a good machinery from the market? Do you think that's possible? Do you think they can afford so much of money? That's not possible. Never possible. So if the farmers cannot afford this kind of a technology, right, what do you think will happen to their investment again? Right, investment will be very low. If investments are very low, what will happen to their income? Again, incomes will be very low. So can you find a cycle here? Let me know. Can you find a cycle here? Cycle means, right, the earnings are very low, and when earnings are very low, right, the savings are very low. And when savings are very low, investment will be very low. And when investment is very low, production would be lower. Again, earnings will be lower. Can you see a cycle that is continuously happening? This kind of a cycle is called as a low income trap. Low income trap. Vicious cycle, correct. But this is technically called as, right, low income trap. There is the income is very low and the cycle will keep on happening and the income does not increase. Low income, low savings, again low income, no low savings. Same cycle will keep on happening, right? There is an equilibrium. Equilibrium means a situation does not change. I'm throwing a chemistry word at you people, right? Equilibrium, chemistry term. But again, don't worry. Equilibrium is very common term. Equilibrium means there is certain situation and the situation is not changing. Can I say this is a low income equilibrium trap? Let me know. Can I say this situation is nothing but low income equilibrium trap? Right? That is, there is the situation, there is this situation which will not keep on changing. Why it does not change? Because incomes are lower, savings are lower, investments are lower. Again, right? Basically, the incomes will keep on becoming lower. This concept was given by, remember, there is a name of a person, Richard P. Nelson. Richard P. Nelson. This concept of a low income equilibrium trap was given by Richard P. Nelson. In fact, one of the reasons why we implemented 5-year plans in India. I'll repeat the statement. In fact, one of the reasons why we implemented 5-year plans in India was because of this only. Right? Because at the time of independence, please go back, independence, 1947, more than 70% of the working population was there in agriculture sector. More than 50% of the GDP contribution came from agriculture sector. So the argument was, because agriculture sector was the most important sector at that point of time, farmers' incomes were very, very low. It is the duty of the government to make plans and implement the plans so that agriculture sector will start improving. And what was the one of the supporting factor used by the government? Government said, right, there is low income trap in India. Low income trap in India. There is a low income trap. I want to address that issue. Done again. So please understand, we need to invest. The point I was trying to make is we need to invest in a lot of research and development. If time permits, I know all of you are very busy people. All of you are very busy with UPSC preparation. If the time permits, I would recommend please read this article by Mr. Ashok Gulati. Okay. So these are some of the benefits. Come back to benefits here. These are the benefits of globalization. Now, what are the issues or concerns? What are the issues or concerns? One, there will be a lot of tax avoidance and tax evasion done by multinational enterprises. Correct or wrong? You please tell me. Right, this is the last complete weekend class for you. Next Saturday, we'll be finishing the economic classes. Earlier classes, did we discuss this? Did we discuss this? Right, will the multinational enterprises, will they go for tax avoidance as well as evasion? Of course, yes. And what is the problem if they avoid and evade? The tax revenues of government of India will actually come down. The tax revenues of government of India will actually come down. And because I'm talking about tax revenues, I don't know yesterday this article I've given it in the list or not. A couple of days ago in Indian Express newspaper, this was there. Couple of days ago, there was this article in Indian Express. Do you remember one concept that we discussed many weeks ago regarding reduction of corporate taxes from 30% to 22%? Let me know. Because I'm talking about taxation, right? This is just a revision for you people, right? Many weeks ago, we discussed one concept where corporate taxes were reduced from 30% to 22%. And I'd say one problem with, right, one problem with this is government will be losing lot of tax money. Correct? The tax revenue of government of India will come down. Right? It makes perfect sense. So if you ask me now, sir, is there any proof of it? Right? What you said was tax resources will come down with reduction in the corporate tax rate. Is there any proof of it? Yes, my dear. Now there's a proof of it. Right? In Indian Express, couple of days ago, there was one article based on what information has been provided by the minister to the parliament. As per the minister, for financial year 21, because of this tax rate reduction, government of India foregone. That is, it lost a tax revenue of more than 1 lakh crore rupees. The government of India had to forego tax revenue of more than 1 lakh crore rupees, more than 1 lakh crore rupee for 1 year. Right? This was there. Please check it. And second, very interesting. Second, government of India said, with reduction in the corporate tax rate, we are expecting lot of investments to come into India. With reduction of corporate tax rate, we expect a lot of investments to come into India because lower corporate tax rate. RBI report says this has not happened in India. RBI report simply says this has not happened in India. With reduced corporate tax rate, did we attract more investments in India? RBI report says no, it has not happened. Some of you will ask why. And the reason is very simple. If you are a corporate, if you are a private sector company, during a slowdown, during a recession, during pandemic, when you already know there is going to be a lower demand, will you increase your investments? Think of it. Please do let me know. In a time period when there is a pandemic, slowdown is there, recession is there, unemployment rate is very high, demand is very low, will you increase your investment? No, you will not increase your investment, you will reduce your investment. Does that make sense to you? So what have the companies done then? the companies have taken this extra tax savings. They have either paid more dividends to the owners, or they have repaid their existing loans rather than investing back in the economy. That was the point. If I've not given that article, this article is there in Indian Express newspaper. Please read that. Okay, so one, tax avoidance by multinational enterprises, exploitation of the workers. Right? Don't you think? Corporate sector, private sector means there is exploitation. Again, I'm not saying every employee is exploited. Can there be a child labor because of this? Let me know. Right? Can there be a child labor, right? Use of the child labor because of globalization? If you say no, sir, that is not possible, etc., etc., my dear, please read about what happens in textile sector in Bangladesh. Please read about what happens in the textile sector in Bangladesh. Lot of these American companies outsource manufacturing of clothing to Bangladesh. There is a term called as sweatshops. Very, very famous, or should I say infamous. There is a term called as sweatshops. Why do you think these are called as sweatshops? The kind of facilities they provide to these workers in Bangladesh, right? Manufacturing facility, these are horrible. These are horrible. No proper ventilation, no proper drinking water facility, no proper, right, let's say food facilities, but they are abused. Right? A child labor is used. That's the reason these are called as sweatshops. Right? If you are reading about these kind of things, automatically you'll understand. So argument is simple. Exploitation of the workers can also happen because of globalization. Third one, because of globalization, don't you think rich people will continue to remain richer? Because globalization means what? It's a form of capitalism. It's basically capitalism only. Right? So because of this, rich people will continue to remain rich. Income inequality will exist. Wealth inequality will keep on existing. Loss of jobs in the home countries. Understand this very carefully. Loss of jobs in the home country. Meaning what? Let's take a simple example. Imagine there is a company in USA. It will outsource manufacturing of a product to Bangladesh. Very simple. Okay. It will outsource manufacturing of the clothing, textile product to Bangladesh. Now, please tell me, if they will outsource a production of clothing to Bangladesh, can I say in Bangladesh employment will be created? Anybody has a difficulty? In Bangladesh, employment will be created. Meaning what? In the host country, Bangladesh is called as host country. In the host country, employment will be created. But what about home country? What will happen to home country employment? If they are outsourcing manufacturing to Bangladesh, don't you think they will reduce production in USA? Very simple logic. Rather than producing, let's say, a cloth in USA, they will ask somebody in Bangladesh to produce that cloth, which means in USA, production will go down. And when production goes down, what will happen to employment? Right? So, loss of jobs in the home country. Right? Loss of jobs in the home country. And finally, what about environmental impact? What about environmental impact? Capitalism means more pollution. They are going to produce more and more, pollute more and more, right? Create a lot of destruction to environment, right? So environmental pollution will also increase because of globalization. So these are the benefits. These are the issues or concerns. Anybody has a problem with this? Anybody has a problem with this? Please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward now. Anybody has a problem? Last second. Loss of jobs in home countries. If a company from USA will invest in India, India will be called as host country, USA will be called as home country. Rather than producing in USA, they will produce in India. So in India, employment will be generated. In USA, employment will be lost. That is the loss of jobs in the home country. Right? Now, please do let me know. Have you people come across all of this? Have you people come across all of this? That is, there have been certain incidences which are happening in USA, in Europe against Indians. hate crimes. Have you come across all of this? At least forget about economics. Tell me, do you watch news at least? Or you people are so busy with UPSC preparation, you don't have time to even watch news. Have you seen certain instances, at least on YouTube, where people in USA will be shouting at certain Indians? What will be their grievance? What will be their grievance? So their grievance will be, you people have come from India to USA and you're snatching our jobs. I hope you understand, right? You people are snatching away our jobs, right? One of the reason hate crimes happen is because of this only. Okay, done. Environmental impact. My dear, if production increases, will it cause pollution or not? Think of it. This is very interesting. How environmental impact will be caused by globalization? If production increases, Apple will open one more manufacturing facility in China, India, and let's say in Bangladesh. With higher production, will it not cause more pollution? Very simple idea. With higher production, is it not going to cause more pollution? Of course, yes. And how are you able to produce more? Because of globalization. So more globalization, more loss of environment. Okay, done. In fact, I don't know whether you people are able to see all of this in the real time. With let's say demand for electric vehicles. Tell me now, with the demand for higher electric vehicles, now don't you think there is one more concern? What is the concern? The critical minerals, the demand for critical minerals, don't you think it has increased? Think of it, right? With demand for electric vehicles now, don't you think demand for critical minerals has increased? Now, what is a guarantee that it will not lead to lot of mining pollution in India? Think of it. What is a guarantee that it will not lead to mining pollution in poor African countries where there will be a lot of critical minerals available? So I hope you understand there is always two sides to all these arguments. And please read about all these arguments. Right? Don't think of the electric vehicles as simply a solution to all our problems. No, this is not a solution to all our problems. Can there be another problem because of a higher electric vehicle production? Of course, yes. Demand for critical minerals will start increasing. People will have to start mining out critical minerals. What if, right, they will violate environmental laws, abuse environmental laws, cause a lot of deforestation because of it? Is there a concern or not? I hope you understand. I hope you understand. Please read about all these angles as well. Because if UPSC will ask you a question and if you write only economic angle to it, then you're missing out. Right? The marks that you can score will be very, very high if you can have more angles to it. Okay, done. Now, let me go to the next concept, MSME sector. And I'm actually surprised by some of the students in the classroom. Some of the students are asking, what is critical minerals? My dear, then, what are you reading? Let me know. What are you people reading? Right? Just enlighten me upon that. What are you people reading? Right? None of the books will have critical minerals for that matter. Don't say it is not there in the syllabus. Yes, it is not there in the syllabus. But don't you think that is there in the current affairs? Right? So please read. Please read. So next, let me cover MSME sector, micro, small and medium enterprises. Micro, small, medium enterprises. Okay, MSME. Government of India back in the year 2006 introduced a law, MSME Act. And all these three forms of enterprises, now are covered under the MSME Act of 2006. And in order to promote MSME sector in India, back in the year 2007, Government of India in fact set up Ministry of MSME. MO means Ministry of MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises. Now, point number 3, why MSMEs are so important? In fact, I'm supposed to tell you the definition also. Please let me know, did we cover the definition yesterday? Let me know. Let me check how many of you are present. How many of you remember what you have discussed in the last 24 hours? Did we discuss the definition of MSME yesterday? Right, based on the investment and the turnover, there are three forms, right? Up to 1 crore, up to 5 crore, up to 10 crore, up to 50 crore, up to 50 crore, and up to 250 crore for basically the investment and the turnover respectively for micro, small and medium enterprises. Now, why these MSMEs are so important, so relevant in India? Point number one, MSMEs, it will account for more than 11 crore employees who are working in India. More than 11 crore people who are working in India, they are part of MSME sector itself. There are more than 6 crore MSME units in India. Most of them are micro enterprises. And right, it all these, right, that is, this sector will all put together will employ 11 crore people. That's a very, very huge number. Very, very huge number. Second one, MSMEs contribute 29% to the GDP, to contribute 29% to GDP. Both, again, please understand. When I say MSME, these can be present in manufacturing sector. These can be present in manufacturing sector as well as services sector. These can be present in both manufacturing sector as well as services sector. So put together, the MSME contributes around 29% to the GDP number. And what about the production done by the MSME sector? The production done by the MSME sector accounts for around 40% of the total exports. Around 40% of the total exports actually come from MSME. It accounts for 45% of the total manufacturing of goods in India. After agriculture sector, it is the MSME sector which generates a lot of jobs in India. So that is the precise reason Government of India considers MSME to be backbone of Indian economy, MSME to be very important for Indian economy. Anybody has a difficulty in understanding why MSME sector is so important, please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward now. If nobody has any difficulty, I'll go forward. Right? It's basically because of a contribution to manufacturing, contribution to GDP, right? A contribution to exports, contribution to employment. Right now, what are the issues in the MSME sector? What are the problems in the MSME sector? Point number one, disruption in the economy. And you can write this point for any of the industries today, except a few of them. I'll tell you the point. Please tell me, has pandemic, has COVID disrupted most of the sectors in the economy? Let me know. Right? Has pandemic affected most of the sectors? I'm not saying the whole economy. I'll give you examples. Has it affected most of the sectors in the economy? For example, please tell me, right, simple example, MSME sector. Has pandemic affected MSME sector? Of course, yes. Right? Has pandemic affected overall manufacturing sector? Yes. But please do think of it and let me know, has pandemic affected healthcare sector? Has it disrupted healthcare sector? Do you think it has a disrupted healthcare sector? Those who are saying yes, please do let me know. Disrupted means having negative impact. Having negative impact. No, healthcare sector was not affected by pandemic. In fact, the performance of the companies which are there in the healthcare sector, thanks to pandemic, it has improved. Yes or no? Right? The performance of the companies in the healthcare sector, for example, right, vaccine makers, manufacturers of drugs. And when I say drugs, in the economic classroom, imagine tablets. Right? Do not imagine anything else. When I say drugs, tablets. In fact, a couple of months ago, have you come across this newspaper article? The company which manufactured one of the tablets during pandemic, the company has earned huge amount of a profit. Yes or no? Right? One of the company manufacturer, right, who produces a tablet, there was a rumor that's going on, right? That is, the company earned huge amount of profit during pandemic. Right? So healthcare sector actually got benefit because of the pandemic, because the demand for healthcare services increased. But on the other side, sir, which company? Dolo 650. Right? Dolo 650. Right? If you're not reading newspapers, then you will not know this. In fact, a lot of discussion happened because of that only. Now, let me know, what about this civil aviation market? Civil aviation market, was the pandemic having negative impact? Right? Did pandemic have a negative impact on the civil aviation market? Of course, yes. So I hope you understand the point now. For most of the sectors within India, for most of the sectors, pandemic had a negative effect. For very few of the sectors, pandemic actually promoted the growth in these sectors. You'll have to remember this, okay? So disruptions in the economy, all of you will be okay with this point now? The pandemic has affected the MSME sector. All of you okay? The pandemic has affected the MSME sector. Point number two, credit related issues. Credit related issues. Now, what is the meaning of credit related issues? MSMEs, that is micro, small, medium enterprises, need lot of access to credit, right? Loans, in simple terms, credit is nothing but loans. But in case of India, please understand, access to institutional credit is very less for MSME sector. I'll repeat the statement. Right? In India, the demand for credit from the MSME sector is very, very high. They want to take lot of loans because they want to expand production. They want to purchase raw materials. They want to sell more, earn more profit. But in case of India, access to institutional credit is very, very less. And the reason is very simple. Lot of these micro, small and medium enterprises are not registered with the government. Is it okay? Point number one. Lot of these are not registered with the government. And when you're not registered with the government, there is no certificate, there is no account book for you, there is no auditor report for you. How will the bank provide loans to you then? Think of it. Right? How will the banks provide loans to you? If you ask me, sir, any example of a micro, small, and medium enterprises? I'll give a very simple example. In your locality, is there a small shops of tea? Yes or no? Please do let me know. Right? Can you find a small tea shops in your locality? Small, right, grocery shops? The person who will provide puncture services to you, person who will provide, right, let's say, breakfast to you on the roadside. All of these are collectively referred to as micro, small, and medium enterprises. All of these are collectively referred to as micro, small, and medium enterprises. So that is the precise reason. That's a precise reason. Most of these enterprises are micro in India. They do not have any kind of registration with the government. They do not have any documentation also. So whenever they approach a bank, banks will be very much concerned to provide loans to them. And that is basically the credit related issues. Demand for the credit is very high. Large number of units are informal in nature and find very difficult to get access to institutional credit. Banks are always afraid to give loans to these kind of borrowers in the market. And even if they have all this, and even if they are registered, etc., in many of the cases, they may not have sufficient collateral to take a loan from a bank. That is also a problem. So these are some of the credit related issues, right, that are faced by the micro, small, and medium enterprises. Done? Can we go forward? Can we go forward? Next one is a delayed payments. Next one is a concept of delayed payments. Now, what is the delayed payment? What is the impact of it? Imagine I'm operating a micro enterprise. Micro means investment is very low, turnover is also very low. I have sold certain goods to you, and you are supposed to make a payment within 60 days to me. You're supposed to make payment within 60 days to me. Now, because of the pandemic, because of your losses, etc., instead of 60 days, you would demand a credit cycle of 90 days now. You will demand a credit cycle of 90 days. Can I call this as a delayed payment? Let me know. Can I call this as a delayed payment or not? Some of you are not listening to what I'm discussing. There is one person who is asking what is collateral. My dear, right, please repeat, no, please revise what we are discussing. If you do not keep on revising, then there is no point. Did we not discuss the concept of collateral in banking sector? Even after banking, so many times we have discussed in idea of financial market. Did we not discuss concept of collateral? Now in the last but one class, if you keep on asking, tell me what is collateral, then it's basically running around the bush. We are running around the bush. Instead of going forward, we are going 2 steps forward, we are jumping 3 steps backward. Let's not do that. You'll have to revise. Collateral means a security. Please revise. If you are not revising, again, After 1 week, what will you do then? My classes will get over. What will you do after that? So please keep on revising. Okay. So delayed payment. So the problem is with the delayed payments, again there is a lot of financial pressure on the MSME sector. Lot of pressure on the MSME sector. So that will also create financial problems for the MSME, because if rather than receiving a payment in 60 days, if it is extended to 90 days, now what about my payment for raw materials? What about my payment to my workers? What about my payment to electricity bill, etc., etc.? So it will have a lot of impact on the finances of the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And finally, right, last but one, lack of supporting infrastructure in India. And please write this in every type of industry. Trust me, please write this in every type of industry. For example, you will ask me, sir, how do you say there is a lack of supporting infrastructure in India? Let me give you a very simple example. Let me give a very simple example. There are different modes of transportation. I repeat, there are different modes of transportation. You can move this particular product from point A to point B using different modes. Right? What do you mean by that? Can we use, right, let's say railways to move the products? Transport, that is. Can we use railways to transport? Yes. Can we use roadways for the transportation? Can we use roadways? Of course, yes. Can we use waterways? This is becoming famous now. Please understand the point I'm trying to make here. Can we move the product using waterways? That is, let's say, canal water is there, rivers are there, etc. Now, most of the transportation in India, I repeat, most of the transportation in India is being done through roadways. Most of the transportation, that is more than 60% of the transportation, is done using roadways. But transporting through roadways, one, it is costly. It is costly. Now, before you ask me, sir, then why are we using roadways? My dear, for a very simple reason, we are yet to develop very long length of waterways in India. We are developing it. It's not that we are not developing. We are yet to develop, right, all the waterways in case of India. There are more than 100 waterways which are being proposed by the government. It's been more than 5 years, right? More than 5 years since more than 100 waterways have been proposed. But we are yet to develop all of these waterways, right? So please think of it and do let me know. In case of the supporting infrastructure, now, is it okay if I say we lack supporting infrastructure for manufacturing sector in India? We lack supporting infrastructure for movement of raw material in India. We lack supporting infrastructure in terms of exports from India. We lack supporting infrastructure for MSMEs in India. I hope you understand. There is a lack of infrastructure. We are in the process. I'm not saying government is not doing anything. Do not take my words in a negative way. I'm not saying government is not doing anything, but we are lagging behind. For example, many of you ask, sir, how do you say we are lagging behind? In case of India, right, the waterways account for very small percentage of total goods transportation. Very small percentage of the goods we actually transport using waterways. In case of China, the length of waterways which they can use for movement of goods is more than 1 lakh kilometers. I hope you understand. I'll repeat the statement. In case of China, the length of navigable waters means the flow of the water which can be used for movement of goods. The length of navigable waters in China is more than 1 lakh kilometers. More than 1 lakh kilometers. In case of India, it is just around 4 to 5 or the 20% or 25% of what China has actually developed. So we are lagging in terms of infrastructure development. We are implementing reforms that will take time. But right now, what is the concern? There is a lack of infrastructure support in India. Right? Many of you ask me, sir, how port is lagging behind in India? My dear, when we discuss port, right, understand this. There's a term called as a turnaround time. Again, don't worry about this right now. Turnaround time TAT, turn around time, basically represents what is the efficiency of the port for importing a good. In case of India, turnaround time is less than 1 day. Right now, it is less than 1 day. But in the international market, many ports are there which have a turnaround time of 12 hours, which have a turnaround time of much lower than 1 day. So we are moving towards it, but there is a lagging behind. We are still behind them. Okay. So there is a lack of infrastructure support for MSMEs. And finally, non-performing assets, NPAs, non-performing assets in case of uh, uh, the MSME sector. Non-performing assets in case of MSME sector is slightly higher. That is also cause of concern. Done. So these are some of the issues in MSME. So what are the reforms then? What kind of measures have we implemented in order to address these reforms? Let's go one by one. First one is called as Mudra Yojana. First one is Mudra Yojana, right? That is the micro enterprising development refinancing agency, right? Mudra basically stands for, right, the micro enterprises, right? The finance which will be provided for micro enterprises, right? Development refinancing agency, that is Mudra Yojana. Under this Mudra Yojana, please understand, government says, right, the micro enterprises, right, the non-corporate, non-farmer, small and micro enterprises, small and micro enterprises will be covered under this. And please understand, small and micro enterprises can also be written like this: SMEs, small and micro enterprises. So these small and micro enterprises will be able to get loans up to 10 lakh rupees without any collateral. That's very important. Please remember this. I'll repeat the statement. Under Mudra Yojana, right, where they will get the loans, I'll tell you. Under the Mudra Yojana, the small and micro enterprises can go to, right, these institutions, take a loan up to 10 lakh rupees without providing any collateral, right? So that is basically the concept of Mudra Yojana. Now, what kind of loans are provided under this? What kind of loans are provided? There are three loan products. One is called as Shishu, second one is called as a Kishore, third one is called as Tarun. Shishu, Kishore and Tarun. If you opt for a Shishu product, basically loans up to 50,000 rupees will be provided to you. Loans up to 50,000 is provided under Shishu. Second one is Kishore. Loans from 50,000 rupees to 5 lakh rupees will be provided under Kishore. And finally, under Tarun, more than 5 lakh rupees up to 10 lakh rupees worth of loans are provided under, right, the Tarun product. So where can you get these particular loans? You can take the loans from small finance bank, right? Two students are asking how to get. Go to the banks, they will give you application. Small finance banks, NBFCs, commercial banks, RRBs, etc. Many of these many of these banking institutions provide these kind of facilities. This is a concept of Mudra Yojana. And what is basically the importance of this Mudra Yojana? Point number one, loans are given to micro and small enterprises because they require financial assistance. They require access to institutional credit. And second, very important point, these can take a loan without providing any collateral, without providing any kind of collateral, right? So this is basically Mudra Yojana. Next one, concept of 59-minute loan portal. 59-minute loan portal. Now, what is this 59-minute loan portal? I'll give a very simple example. Imagine there are 4 banks. Okay, imagine there are 4 banks. You want to take a loan. Rather than approaching all the banks individually like this, which is a time-consuming process, what Government of India has done now is they have created a website. Simple, they have created a website. It's a portal where all these banks are actually registered. All these banks are registered in the portal. Now, what you can do is you will log on to this particular portal, which is a PSP loans in 59 minutes. You can check the website. There is a website by the name of PSB loans in 59minutes.com. So you can log on to this website. now you can choose to apply for a loan, let's say in bank B. Online, you're not going to the bank. You can choose to apply for the loan online with the bank B. Now, once you apply for the loan with the bank B within next 1 hour, will either accept or reject your application. They will not give you loan in 59 minutes. I repeat it. They will not give you loans in 59 minutes. In 59 minutes, either they will accept, that is preliminary approval is provided, or else your application is rejected. That is called as 59-minute loan portal. In principle approval for the loans with or without collateral is provided within 59 minutes in the portal. Now, borrower can choose the lender, correct? You can choose to which bank you want to apply for a loan. You can choose. Second one, value of the loans, right? What is the value of the loans which can be provided using PSB website like this? The minimum value of the loan will be 1 lakh rupees and the maximum value of the loan will be 5 crore rupees. Third one, this platform is integrated with CGT MSE portal. This platform is integrated with a CGT MSE portal. Now, what is this CGT MSE portal? Let me explain this. CGT MSE stands for Credit Guarantee Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises. Credit Guarantee Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises. Now, what is this Credit Guarantee Trust? Let me explain this. Follow this very carefully. Imagine here is a borrower, let's say a micro enterprise. The borrower wants to take a loan from a bank. They want to apply for a loan in a bank. Now, if you're a bank manager, are you not concerned about repayment of the loan here? Think of it. It's a micro enterprise. It's a micro enterprise. So, are you not concerned about, right, whether the micro enterprise will be able to repay the loan or not? Right? Will you be worried about it? Of course, yes. Many of the bank managers, if given a chance, they would simply say, no, I don't want to give a loan to a micro enterprise. I don't want to give a loan to, right, a farmer. I do not want to give a loan to this. Why? It is very risky. Simple. It is very risky. So generally, the banks would not prefer to provide, right, loans to these kind of borrowers because these are very risky borrowers. Now, Government of India says, I will set up a guarantee fund. But have a look at this. I will create a guarantee fund. And what is the use of the guarantee fund here? This guarantee fund will provide guarantees to the loans which are provided by the bank to micro and small enterprises. Very simple. I'll repeat it again. Government has created a fund by the name of Credit Guarantee Trust. And what is the use of the money within the fund? The fund will utilize this money and provide guarantees, right, to a certain extent to the loans provided by the bank to the small and micro enterprises. Now, please tell me, if you're a manager, right, I've applied a loan to you, government will provide, let's say, 80% guarantee to the loan. Meaning what? 80% of the loan, government is giving you the guarantee. Meaning if I don't repay it, you will get the 80% of the money from the government. Please tell me, if this kind of credit guarantee is provided, don't you think security associated with repayment will improve? Yes or no? Please participate and let me know. Security means, right, you're basically getting a guarantee now. Right? Don't you think security, that is the assurance related to the loan, will start improving? Now, banks will feel comfortable to provide loans to the small and micro borrowers in the market. So, this fund is basically referred to as Credit Guarantee Trust for micro and small enterprises. So, CGT MSE has been set up by Government of India with the SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India. So within SIDBI, this kind of a fund has been created, and from one type of loan to another type of loan, different guarantees are provided. Generally, the guarantees provided are in the range of 75% to 85%. So credit guarantee provided means banks will have certain assurances now. With more assurances, banks will provide loans to small and micro enterprises. In fact, even Mudra, I'll repeat the statement. In fact, even Mudra is also kept with SIDBI itself. It is also there with Small Industrial Development Bank of India. Done? So first one is a Mudra Yojana. Second one is 59-minute loan portal. Third one is public procurement policy. Any doubts so far? Why not medium enterprises? My dear, point number one, most of the enterprises within micro, small and medium are micro and small. And compared to micro and small, don't you think medium enterprises, right, will have more investment, more turnover? So their accessibility, right, or their power to get access to institutional funds is much, much better compared to micro and small. It is micro and small which are very weak in India. Is it okay? Right? It is the micro and small which are very, very weak. That is the precise reason most of these reforms government will target micro and small. Okay, done. Next one, public procurement policy. Next concept is public procurement policy. What is the idea of a public procurement policy? Government says every central government, every central ministry, department or public sector undertaking. PSU stands for public sector undertaking. Public sector undertaking, that is government companies, government organizations, etc. Public sector undertakings shall set an annual target of 25% procurement from micro and small enterprises. Meaning what? Let's take a very simple example. Imagine there is a department of government of India. In this year, they want to procure 100 crore worth of goods from the market. Very simple. They want to procure 100 crore worth of goods from the market. Out of 100 crore, at least 25% of it, that is 25 crore of the goods they will have to procure from micro and small enterprises. Is the logic okay? Anybody has a problem with this? I'll repeat it again. Right? Let's say a central ministry is there. They are procuring from the market. Right? A central government organizations are there. They are procuring goods or services from the market. So every year, whatever they are purchasing, 25% of it, at least 25% of it, they will have to procure it from micro and small enterprises. This is important. Why I tell you? This is important. Why? Earlier, we had a concept of reservation of products. Earlier, we had this concept of reserved list. What is the meaning of reserved list? Let's take a simple example. Imagine this is a bottle. Government would simply say, this bottle will be kept in the reserved list, which means this bottle can be manufactured only by the MSME sector. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. In fact, earlier I told you this yesterday also. Earlier, there was no concept of MSME. We used to call them as small scale industries. Only post 2006, we have introduced MSME. So what is the idea of a reservation list here? Imagine this is a bottle. This bottle is kept in the reserved list. Means what? Only micro, small and medium enterprises would be allowed to manufacture this product. We do not have that listing today. I repeat, we do not have that reserved list today. Over a period of time, we realize that, okay, reservation of the products will not promote MSME. It will actually prohibit competition in the market. How so? If everybody is allowed to manufacture this bottle, don't you think there is more competition in the market rather than reserving this only to be manufactured by MSME sector? Yes or no? I'll give you current affairs examples for this. Right? Sir, what kind of current affairs example? Couple of years ago, was there a very stiff competition between Flipkart, an Indian company, and Amazon, an American company? Let me know. Flipkart was an Indian company. I'm saying was an Indian company. Today it is not. Why? Flipkart has been sold to an American company, Walmart. Right? So Flipkart, basically an Indian company, Amazon an American company. One example. Second example, Ola, Indian company, Uber, foreign company. So argument of many of these startups was government of India should come forward, protect domestic companies. Give us protection. Give us protection, right? Allow us to compete with amongst ourselves, protect us from foreign competitors. Government said no, I will not interfere, right? These are open to private sector. That is, this market is open for anybody. It can be an Indian company, it can be a foreign company. You compete with them. And that is the precise reason today, think of it, today, don't you think e-commerce sector is at a much better position compared to what it was 10 years ago? Of course, many companies had to shut down, many companies were acquired, but that is how the capitalism will work. I hope you understand. That is how free market will work out. If you are competitive enough, you will survive in the market. If you're not competitive, either you'll be shut down or you'll be absorbed by somebody else. So argument was very simple here. We had reserved list, and the argument of government of India was, by providing reserved list, we are protecting MSME sector. But later we realized, okay, if you keep on protecting MSME sector, they will not grow. They will never grow. They will remain MSME only. But don't you think a company which will have 5 employees today, right, and a turnover of let's say 1 crore rupee today, should make 10 crore rupee after 5 years, should make 100 crore rupee after 8 years, should make 1000 crore rupee revenue after 15 years? Meaning what? Size of the company will increase, number of jobs created will increase, production will increase, contribution to GDP will increase. Don't you want to have this kind of evolution? Of course, yes. But if you keep on protecting these MSME, do you think they will evolve out of this MSME? Do you think they will evolve out of this MSME? No, they will remain MSME only. Right? So there was a concern. That's a reason we have withdrawn this kind of a reservation policy. Reserved list has been withdrawn. All the goods which are there in the reserved list have been de-reserved now. Right? There is no product which has been reserved only for MSME. Anybody can manufacture these products. Okay. Next is the TREDS platform. This we have discussed already. Yes or no? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Did we discuss a TREDS platform earlier? That is, it's a system. It's a platform which has been developed, promoted by RBI, using which, right, a bill discounting, right, the receivables are discounted in the market. That is a trade receivables e-discounting system. Sir, where have you discussed? Great question. I've discussed the concept of trades system when we are discussing financial market. Right, when we are discussing financial market, that is specifically, right, the commercial bills. Right, commercial bills, I've discussed all of this. Please have a look at it. Next, corporate taxes have been reduced now. Right, from 30% it has been reduced to 22%. Right, don't you think that will provide benefit to MSME sector? And some of you will point out that, sir, it was reduced to 22, but you have written 25%. Why? You are wrong. It is not 25%. You will say it is 22%. Please understand, 22% is the actual corporate tax rate. But along with the 22%, don't you think you'll have to pay certain cesses and surcharges? Let me know. You will also have to pay certain cesses and surcharges. And that is the precise reason. I'm pretty sure some of you would have come across this. Many of the sources, they will not say corporate tax rate is 22. In fact, they will write a corporate tax rate is 25.17%. Let me know, have you come across this number? Rather than writing 22%, many of the sources will say corporate tax rate is 25.17%. Why? From 22%, they will add these cesses and surcharges, and effective tax rate will become 25.17%. But anyways, if corporate tax rate is reduced, will it not provide benefit to most of the companies which will opt to pay lower corporate tax rate? Of course, yes, it will provide a benefit to them. Next, priority sector lending. Under priority sector lending, one of the sectors we are covering is MSME sector. Correct? Please let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm not told this earlier also. Right? Under RBI, Reserve Bank of India, the qualitative set of tools, there was one tool, rationing of credit. Under rationing of credit, we discussed the concept of priority sector lending. Under PSL, loans are supposed to be given to agriculture sector, MSME sector, weaker sections of the society, affordable housing, startups, etc., etc. Right? So MSMEs will also get loans under priority sector lending. Next, pre-pack insolvency resolution. Right? Famous now, but not very much adopted by the banking sector, I'll tell you. But listen to me very carefully now. What is this pre-pack insolvency resolution? Let me explain it. All of you remember insolvency resolution process? Please tell me. All of you remember insolvency resolution process or not? Right? That is CIRP. What is CIRP? Corporate Insolvency Resolution Process. Corporate Insolvency Resolution Process. CIRP. Now, what will happen under corporate insolvency resolution process? I will simplify it. Some of you are saying you don't remember, but that's your duty to remember. I'm a faculty, I remember it. That's my duty. But as a student, you should remember that also. So let's say simplified process. A bank has given loan to a company. Company does not repay it. Now the bank will drag the company to NCLT. NCLT will basically appoint, right, a committee of creditors through insolvency professional. Now the committee of creditors will decide whether should we liquidate the company, or we should sell it off in the market. That is insolvency resolution. If you sell it off in the market, that is called as insolvency resolution process. But my argument is very simple. In this process, please do let me know, if I am the original owner of the company, is there a danger that I will end up losing the ownership? Please do let me know. If I am the original owner of the company, because of this process, is there a danger that I will end up losing ownership of my company? Arey Baba, right? How difficult is this? The company is owned by me. This company will be purchased by Tata now. And some of you don't even listen to me. Is there a danger that I will end up losing my ownership, right, in this company? Of course, yes. I'll end up losing my ownership. For example, sir, right, no, I'm not sure whether I will lose ownership or not. Are you reading newspapers? Right, the Z company NCLT issue, Sony company NCLT issue, right? Do read newspapers. That's the reason. Do read newspapers. Now come to PIRP. And many of you will start asking me, what is PIRP? PIRP is nothing but, right, a pre-pack insolvency resolution process. PIRP is nothing but pre-pack insolvency resolution process. That is called as PIRP. Now, follow this very carefully. What happens in PIRP? Imagine here is a bank. Bank will give a loan to a micro enterprise. The micro enterprise is unable to repay it. Now, the bank can simply take the company, that is a micro enterprise, to NCLT. But please think of it. Do you think there will be a very high demand for such micro enterprises in the market? Let me know. Do you think there will be a very high demand, or will there be buyers for micro enterprises? Very small units. Micro enterprises are very small units. The argument of Government of India is very simple. Demand for these MSME units will not be very high in the market. Right? Companies are interested in buying out bigger companies, not small unit where investment is 1 crore, because they can only invest 1 crore and set up. So that's the reason demand for these MSME units is very low, negligible, which means a demand, if it is not there, now don't you think it will be forced to go for liquidation? Correct? If the demand is not there, they'll be forced to go for liquidation. We don't want liquidation, right? Please go back. We do not want liquidation. That will lead to unemployment rate, destruction of supply chain, etc. So what is the solution then? What is the solution? The solution that the Government of India has come up is the idea of a pre-pack insolvency resolution process. What happens in a pre-pack insolvency resolution process? The creditor and the borrower, the debtor as well as the creditor, will come into an agreement. They will arrive at an agreement. Please understand the term pre-pack, right? Do you understand the term pre-pack? Pre-pack, right? Let's say plans are there, pre-pack in charges are there, recharges are there, etc. Pre-pack means in advance. Pre-pack is nothing but in advance. So have a look at this. In this case, what happens? The creditor and the debtor will hold negotiations, will come to certain understanding. Means how much money will be repaid, in what time period the money will be repaid, etc., etc. These negotiations are conducted. They will arrive at certain agreement. Now this arrangement they will give it to NCLT. They'll basically say we have come to an arrangement, right? This is the arrangement. Please have a look at it. Now, once NCLT approves it, this kind of a pre-pack is actually enforced or implemented. This kind of a pre-pack, that is the agreement or arrangement between the creditor and the debtor, will be implemented. This is called as a pre-pack insolvency resolution process. Now, what is the advantage in this, right? Why are we implementing this kind of a methodology? Is it available to all the companies in India? No, this is not available to all the companies. Right now, this is available only to MSME sector. Right now, this is available to only MSME sector. And trust me when I say this, not at all used by the banking sector. Hardly 2 cases have gone through pre-pack insolvency resolution process so far. It's been more than 2 years since Government of India has implemented PIRP. Hardly 2 or 3 cases have actually gone through PIRP. I'll tell you why also. I'll tell you why. Imagine I'm the bank manager who decided we should negotiate with micro enterprise. We should negotiate with micro enterprise and come to this arrangement regarding collection of payment. Now, please tell me what is the guarantee that in the future there will be no investigation conducted on my decision? Tell me, right? I'm a manager of a public sector bank, right? I entered into an arrangement with another micro enterprise. What is the guarantee that in future, right, some of these government agencies will not investigate against me regarding this file only? There is no guarantee. So don't you think government officials, that is specifically the bank managers, the bank officials, will be very, very careful if they want to use a pre-pack insolvency resolution process? I hope you understand. That's a precise reason most of the banks are not adopting this. They are saying, no, today you will say use it, I will use it. But what in the future, right, government agency will look into it and say, both of you, that is the owner of micro enterprise and the manager, both were friends. There could be corruption there. Right? I hope you understand. These things would keep on happening in the future. Hence, the banks are saying, no, we will not use the pre-pack insolvency resolution process. That's the reason the model has been proposed, but not very famous. Hardly few countable cases have actually gone under pre-pack insolvency resolution process. But this is actually better if nothing is wrong, that is, if there is no corruption, etc. If the process is actually used correctly, this is a much better process. Why? Under corporate insolvency resolution process, there is a danger that owner might end up losing the ownership of the company. In pre-pack insolvency resolution process, if I'm the owner of the micro enterprise, do I lose the ownership here? Right? Don't you think there is more chance that I will end up having my ownership intact in case of pre-pack? Right? So that is one advantage. Second advantage is the time period for corporate insolvency resolution process is 330 days, whereas pre-pack insolvency resolution process, the time period is 120 days. So very short time period compared to CIRP, very, very short time period. Within a short time period, you will be able to address the issue of NPA in a micro enterprise. Having said so, the adoption is very, very poor. Adoption is not very great for pre-pack insolvency resolution process. Done? So this is the discussion regarding the concept of the micro, small and medium enterprises. Very important, right? These will be there in the newspapers very often. UPSC can ask you about MSME also. Please be very careful. Okay, done. Next one is IIP. Any questions? Anybody has a doubt? What does NCLT stand for? NCLT stands for National Company Law Tribunal. Right? All of this we have discussed earlier, my dear. Please revise. Okay, NCLT stands for National Company Law Tribunal. At last, the selling will occur under PIRP. It can happen, because please understand, I'm not entering into technicalities of PIRP. In case under PIRP, there is a concept called as a Swiss challenge model. Again, not needed for UPSC. There's a concept called as a Swiss challenge model. That is, this amount can be challenged. That is repayment. Somebody else can also challenge and end up purchasing a micro enterprise. But again, the demand for these is very, very low. Usage of PIRP is very abysmal in India. Okay. Next, right, IIP. Concept of IIP, I'll discuss two important indicators. That is indices. I'll discuss two very important indices now. Every month, you'll come across these indices in the newspaper, so understand it correctly. Okay, so one is index of industrial production. One is the index of industrial production, IIP. Second one is called as index of 8 core industries. Right, understand both of them. Questions have been asked from these indicators in the prelims. These are more relevant for prelims, right? Factual based questions have been asked by UPSC. Again, they can be asked. Follow this very carefully. One is index of industrial production. Second one is index of 8 core industries. Now, what is this index of industrial production? Please understand this. Can I say gross value addition, GVA? Do you remember GVA? Let me see. Do you remember GVA? Sir, where did you discuss GVA? When we discussed GDP. When we discussed GDP, we had a very good discussion about GVA as well. Can I say gross value addition basically talks about how much is the value added at every step of manufacturing or service sector within the whole economy. Whereas if you want to find out how much is the change in the volume addition, I repeat, how much is the change in the volume addition, you cannot calculate using GVA. All of you are okay with this? Gross value addition will only tell you how much is the change at every step in value addition. From 100 rupee, price became 120 rupee. I can simply say value added has increased by 20 rupees. But using GVA, can you please tell me what has happened to production of goods in India? Let me know. Can you tell me what has happened to the production of goods? Has the production increased? Number. Again, I'm talking about quantity here, not the value. Please understand the point here. I'm talking about quantity, volume, not the value of the product. So please tell me, using GVA, can you find out what has happened to the volume of goods in India? Has the volume of goods increased? Has the volume of goods decreased? Can you find out using GVA? You cannot find out using GVA. Anybody has an issue, please do let me know right now. Using GVA, you cannot find out what has happened to the volume of production. For example, many of you are saying, sir, how? Let's say, I'll say compared to last year, where the value addition to the economy was 100 crore rupee, this year, the value addition is 120 crore rupee. Please tell me, can you tell me, has the production increased or decreased here? Let me know. Those people who are asking how, why, etc. Please tell me now. If GVA for last year is 100 crore, this year it is 120 crore. Can you tell me whether volume has increased? Think very carefully, my dear. Some of you do not think. That's a problem. Some of you do not think. That becomes a problem. Do you think volume has increased? Guarantee? Has volume increased? Any guarantee? No, there is no guarantee. Why? What if labor charges have increased? What if raw material price has increased? Right? For example, let me simplify it. Simplify it. Imagine only one bottle is produced, a final good in India. Only one bottle. Last year the value was 100, this year 120. So please tell me, despite only one product being manufactured, has value addition increased? Yes or no? Has value addition increased? Of course, yes, value addition has increased. But has volume changed? No. In this example, volume has not changed. So I hope you understand. Right? So gross value addition will give you only answer regarding how much is the change in the value addition. It doesn't tell you How much is the change in the volume? That is the precise reason. To measure the changes in production, we measure something called as IIP, Index of Industrial Production. Index of Industrial Production. Index of Industrial Production is published for every month. For every month, IIP is published. It is published by NSO. It is published by NSO, National Statistical Office. It will measure changes in the output. It will measure changes in the output of three sectors. One is called as electricity, second one is mining, and the third one is manufacturing. Simply by heart these. Simply by heart this. Do not waste your time. Do not do a PhD on this. UPSC will not ask you anything beyond it. They can ask you application. I'll talk about it in a minute. It will measure changes in the output, changes in the volume of output in three sectors, that is electricity, mining, as well as manufacturing. Now, within this only, please have a look at it and just think of it and answer to me. Do you think all the three sectors which are listed here, all the three sectors are equally important? Think of it and answer. Do you think all the three sectors which are listed here, all the three are equally important? Do you think all the three are same weightage should be given, same importance should be given? Of course no. Right, one of the sector will have very high weightage, another will have low weightage. Right, remember this as well. Please remember this as well. In case of IIP, the base year for the calculation is 11 and 12. And the number of items which are used to calculate IIP, it is 407. And the highest weightage has been provided, 77% weightage has been provided for manufacturing sector. And even the manufacturing sector has the highest number of items here. Right, so manufacturing sector has weightage of 77. Mining sector, second weightage 14%. Electricity has the lowest weightage 8%. So total weightage has to be 100%. Out of it, it is the manufacturing which has the weightage of more than 3/4 in the IIP. Any difficulty in understanding this? Do not do a PhD on this. Trust me, don't waste your time. We can talk hours and hours. How they will collect the data, how they will use the data, how they will calculate IIP. I can talk. Just like we discussed GDP, we can talk 4 to 5 hours only on IIP. But is it required? Is it required for UPSC? Absolutely not required. What is needed? IIP is an index. Point number one, it is an index. What is the use of the index? We measure what is the change in the output. What is the change in the output in three sectors? That is basically the mining, manufacturing, as well as electricity. And in case of all the three, the highest weightage has been given for manufacturing sector at 77%. And who will publish this? It is published for every month by the authority NSO, National Statistical Office. And what is the importance of IIP? What is the importance of IIP? It is used for making policies. Let me give you a basic idea. Please tell me, for the last 6 months, IIP has decreased. IIP has contracted. Is it good for Indian economy? Think of it. Please think of it. For the last 6 months, IIP has contracted. Right? Don't you think if the IIP is contracting, it is an indicator that there will be certain impact on GDP numbers as well? I hope you understand this. There will be certain impact on the GDP numbers. What impact, you'll have to wait and see. But there will be certain impact on GDP. Because it cannot happen that continuously compared to last year. I repeat, it cannot happen that continuously compared to last year, your production is increasing and you will register very high GDP number. Doesn't work out. I hope you understand. Doesn't work out. So if IIP is continuously contracting, not even decreasing, contracting means compared to last year, we are producing lesser this year. So if there is a continuous contraction month after month in the IIP, that is an indicator that GDP will also be affected. So don't you think government of India, Reserve Bank of India, all of them will keep an eye over these IIP numbers so that they can take appropriate policies. Right? So it will be used for making advanced estimates, right? Advanced estimates for overall production in India. It will also be used for making policies for the government. So that is the importance of IIP. Now, many of you are asking, sir, what is there in 405? What is there in 11, etc. like this? Don't waste your time. If you ask me, this list is not important. You do not have to remember all the 400 plus products. Trust me on this. You do not have to remember. If your argument is, sir, I want to remember, then think of these numbers. 407 for IIP, 697 for WPI, 299 for right a CPI headline, that is the CPI overall, right? Overall India, CPI India, CPI rural 448, CPI urban 460. Now think of it and remember, will you be able to recollect all these lists appropriately during exams? Even if you by heart it, I don't think UPSC will ask you. UPSC will ask you all of this. Do not waste your time. Okay, this is one. Second indicator that we use is ICI. ICI stands for Index of 8 Core Industries. Index of 8 Core Industries. Now, what we do is within IIP, please understand this, within IIP, there is a mining, there is a manufacturing, and there is also electricity. So from these multiple industries, right, from these multiple industries are there, we will take 8 industries. Let me know any difficulty here. Within IIP, we have 3 very important sectors, right? We have what? Mining, manufacturing, and electricity. So within these sectors, there are multiple industries which are there. So out of all the industries which are there in the IIP, we will take only 8 industries. If you ask me, sir, why only 8 industries? Argument of government is very simple. These 8 industries are very important for India's economy. Right? Look at the names, you will understand what industries we have covered. Please look at the names, you will understand. Right? We have cement, coal, crude oil, electricity, fertilizer, natural gas, refinery products, steel. So don't you think all these 8 industries are very much relevant for India's economic performance? And don't you think most of these will provide, right, will provide certain inputs to other industries? For example, steel. Steel is required in capital industries. Steel is required in right, let's say the electronic devices. Steel is required right in real estate, etc. So many of the other sectors, they will draw their raw materials inputs from these industries itself. That is the reason we keep a track of 8 industries within ICI, which is, I'm sorry, within IIP, which is called as Index of 8 Core Industries. So there are totally 8 industries. All the 8 industries put together, they will have a weightage of 40.27% out of IIP. I'll repeat it. Please understand this. Out of IIP of 100%, total weightage of 100%, if I find out what is the weightage for all these 8 industries put together, it will give me 40.27% of total IIP. Who will publish this? This is published for every month. Every month this is published by Office of Economic Advisor, OEA, Office of Economic Advisor, with the same base year 2011 and 2012. What is the use of ICI? Just like IIP, ICI is also used for policy making. ICI will also indicate what is happening to these 8 industries, whether this will have a positive impact on the overall economy or negative effect on the overall economy. These kind of estimates can be derived by the policymakers using IIP as well as ICI. Done? Can we go forward now? Right? And my recommendation is please by heart this table. All the eight, right? What is the weightage given? Please by heart, right? Just to make it simple, if by hearting all the 8 is difficult, my recommendation is at least by heart top 2 to 3 and bottom 2 to 3. If you can basically by heart the full table, I would be very happy. But if you say, sir, full table is very difficult for me, at least by heart top 2 to 3 and bottom 2 to 3, so that if question is asked in UPSC, you will know what is the right answer using the trick of this table. Then can we go forward now? Highest weightage has been given for refinery products. Lowest weightage has been given for fertilizer products, 2.63%. Okay, so these are the two indicators which are generally used to measure how industries are performing. Right? One is IIP and the other one is ICI. Any question, please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward. Why only one product of mining? There was a committee which was set up. The committee report says that based on the importance in the economy, everything is related to economy. Based on the importance to the economy, we will have only one commodity group within mining as well as electricity. Most of the commodities will be kept under the concept of manufacturing products. Any other doubts? Why IIP and ICI are published by different departments? Historically, please understand, whatever government authorities you see today, these government authorities were not present since independence. Right? Over a period of time, we have kept on chopping and changing the authorities. For example, let me give a very simple example. Today, we have an authority called as NSO. All of you have heard of this? You should have heard of it, by the way. Don't say, sir, NSO, what is it? NSO is a very important authority. It publishes inflation data. It publishes GDP data. But how many of you know that NSO earlier, right, there were two different authorities for NSO. That is, NSO today, earlier, was basically two different authorities. One was called as a NSSO and the other one is called as a CSO. Other one is called as CSO. Right? NSSO used to publish different data. CSO used to publish different data. Now what we have done is we have merged these two authorities and we have only one authority, NSO, which means historically different ministries or different departments were given the authority. Over a period of time, we might have broken down the department. We might have taken one department, shifted to another ministry. We might have taken one index, given it to another authority. All of these things will keep on happening. Right? All of these will keep on happening in the economy. You do not worry about it. You simply by heart the factual information. For example, if you ask me, sir, any recent connection to what you're discussing, how many of you know there is a department called as a Department for Public Enterprises? Let me know. There is a department called as a Department of Public Enterprises. If you check Department of Public Enterprises today, the Department of Public Enterprises is under Finance Ministry. It is under Finance Ministry. But couple of years ago, it was not under Finance Ministry. It was under a different ministry altogether. So Government of India decided, okay, DPE is better served if it is part of the Finance Ministry. So we have taken it, moved it under the Finance Ministry. So this kind of chopping and changing, they'll keep on doing it. You don't worry. Why base area is 2011 and 12? For most of the indices in India, the base area is taken as 2011 and 12 because for the calculation of GDP, the base area is 2011 and 12 in India. Okay. Loans are for registered SMEs. How can we promote registration? My dear, please remember yesterday did we discuss PMFME? Let me know. Yesterday did we discuss PMFME? If you ask me, sir, where, in which session did you discuss PMFME? Yesterday is the second half of the session, right? Later part of the sessions. Pradhana Mantri formalization of micro enterprises. Don't you think by implementing these kind of schemes, we are going to promote a formalization, registration of these industries? So we will promote registration. In fact, for MSME, this is very simple. For MSME, government says you don't have to go to any authority to get your unit registered. Please check it online if you don't trust me. There is a portal called as a Udyami portal. There's a portal which has been set up by Government of India, Udyam portal. You can register your MSME very, very easily in the Udyam portal. I hope you understand. You can register your MSME very easily, right? In fact, without any documentation, you can get your MSME registered. So government says registration has been made very, very simple now. Okay. Okay, done. So next one is services. Okay, am I audible? Am I audible? Some of the students said, sir, there's an issue with audio, so I had to refresh. That's the reason I said just a second. Before I press refresh, I said just a second. Okay. Now, what is ICI? Index of 8 core industries. We take 8 industries and we will cover only these 8 industries. Out of all the industries in ICI, we will take only 8 industries and we will track only 8 industries. That is ICI. Low income trap, one more time. Low income trap basically means it's a situation wherein earnings are lesser, savings are lesser, and as a result of this, investment will be lesser. I'll repeat it. Understand this? Very simple concept. Low income equilibrium trap means it's a situation wherein earnings are lesser. When your earnings are lesser, savings will be lesser. And when your savings are lesser, investment will be lesser. And when investment is lesser, automatically again, earnings will become lesser. That is called as a low income equilibrium trap. Right? Because of this, right, the farmers, poor people, they will never be able to come out of poverty. They'll continuously keep on falling in the poverty only. Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Demand for the credit is very high. What is the meaning of it? MSME sector, the enterprises, simple, the enterprises want to borrow more money from the market. Want to borrow more money from the market. In fact, I believe 2 days ago, there was an article in Financial Express. Please check it. When you have free time, please check it. There is one article, I believe, in Financial Express, which would basically discuss the same argument. Right? That is, the experts were saying the micro enterprises, they want to borrow more money from the market. They want to borrow more money so that they will invest more, produce more, earn more profit. But because of certain issues which are plaguing micro enterprises, for example, credit worthiness is very low. Lot of these do not have a consolidated financials. There is no auditing done for these micro enterprises. So because of many of these issues, they are not able to get more and more loans from institutions, that is from banking sector. That is the point I was trying to make here. Sir, you say now manufacturing is highest, always it is. Highest remaining two can't get highest or not. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. If you basically are asking, sir, why manufacture is given the highest weightage in the IIP, the committee which was set up basically stated out of all the goods, products, commodities in the market, or let's say items in the market, manufacturing sector accounts for most of the economy. And again, you're looking at production here. That is a precise reason the weightage given for manufacturing sector is more than 3/4. Okay, done. Can we go forward now? Okay, then let's take a small break. Time is 11:55. We will restart. We'll start with the service sector. We'll restart at 12:05. We'll restart the discussion at 12:05 p.m. Okay, 12:05 p.m. So join back after 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back. Am I audible? Please do let me know. Am I audible? Okay, done. Let's start. Now, before I go forward, there was one question. I was just going through the comment. There was one question which stated that, sir, you said Department of Public Enterprises. Earlier, it was there in which ministry? Just a point here. Department of Public Enterprises earlier was there under Ministry of Heavy Industries, MHI, Ministry of Heavy Industries. The Ministry of Heavy Industries is very famous now for implementation of FAME, faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. So FAME initiative is actually being implemented by MHI. Please read about it. FAME. Very often this is cited in the newspaper. So earlier Department of Public Enterprises was there under MHI. Now this has been shifted to Ministry of Finance, MOF, Ministry of Finance. Okay. Now that's a point. Now come to the point here, the idea of a services sector. Right? What is the services sector? Why it is important? What are the concerns? What are the issues? Any reforms? What is Make in India? What is Startup India? We'll have a discussion of lot of current affairs here. Focus. Point number one, many of you will ask me, sir, what do you mean by services? What do you mean by the term services? Services is any intangible good. Service is nothing but any product that is intangible. Now you'll ask me, sir, what do you mean by intangible? Intangible is something that you cannot touch, you cannot feel. I'll give you example. Service says it's intangible. Intangible means anything that you cannot touch and you cannot feel, no physical property. That is called as intangibility. For example, please do let me know. Can everybody see the bottle in my hand? Let me know. Can everybody see the bottle in my hand? Of course, yes. That the bottle, you can see it's a product, it's a good. But on the other hand, if you go to a movie, right? If you go to a movie, it's a service. It's a service. You cannot touch a movie, right? You can only see it. You cannot touch it, right? So if you go to a movie, that is a service. You will opt for, let's say, teaching like this, right? Teaching is a service. You will book Ola cab. Ola is a service, right? So argument is anything that is intangible in nature, a product that is intangible in nature, that is called as a service. Now, any example of services, sir? Please have a look at the table given here. Please look at the table given here, right? Information technology, hotels, restaurant, transportation, business services, real estate, education, software, agriculture, defense, tourism. The whole list has been provided here. Please have a look at it. Now, some of you will basically say, but sir, Ola, car is there. Sir, real estate, right? The product is there. That is, home is there. My dear, I'm not talking about home. I'm talking about service attached to it. For example, Ola. Yes, car is there. You will sit in the car. But it is a service. It is intangible. You are using the services of moving from point A to point B. That driving is a service to you. So I hope you understand. These are the types of services. Again, don't start doing PhD on all of this. Leave it. Sir, how come business is a service? How come, right, let's say transport is a service? Don't do all of it. Simply remember examples, go forward. And this table I've taken from economic survey. I've taken this table from economic survey itself, right? So they have defined or they have classified the services under these heads. Just have a look at it. You'll understand the idea. Now, in case of India, why service sector is so important? Why service sector is so important? These are the reasons. Point number one, service sector generally contributes more than 50% to GDP, right? It contributes very high to GDP numbers, right? If you look at the GVA contribution, more than half of it will come from services. If you look at the GDP number, right, more than half of it will come from services. Point number two, it will generate a lot of jobs. It will generate a lot of jobs, right? A lot of job opportunities are created within the services sector. Third one, we are exporting a lot of these services to the global market, right? Let me give a very simple example. What software? Please have a look at this. What about IT? IT is nothing but information technology. So don't you think we are exporting a lot of software products to the international market, right? We are also very favorite tourist destination, right, etc. So a lot of these services are exported from India, and when we export it from India, what generally happens, we will be able to attract a lot of foreign exchange. We'll be able to bring in lot of foreign exchange, that is dollars, into India. We also attract lot of investment, foreign direct investment into services sector. For example, take financial services. What about, right, let's say education sector? What about hotels and restaurant? What about software services? Don't you think we are attracting lot of foreign direct investment into services sector? Answer is yes, by the way, right? And we also export lot of it. It will contribute to GDP number. Exports are also very high. We will bring dollars into India. Investment will flow into India. Production will increase. Employment will increase, etc. So these are some of the reasons why services sector are so important in India. These are some of the reasons why service sector are so important in India. Any problem here? Can we go forward? Again, sir, how agriculture sector, how this, how that? My dear, agriculture sector, if I provide labor services to you, if I provide labor to you, do you call it as a product? Do you call it as a product? Right? Do not unnecessarily complicate it. These are services. Just understand and go forward. Many of you ask, sir, you have written hotels and restaurant, but in hotel food is given. How do you call it as a service? My dear, the hotel bill that you pay, do you pay only for the food? Think of it. Is it only for the food? Do you pay a bill in the hotel? No. Right? It is a complete service. It is a complete service. And remember this. Whenever you cannot divide what is a component of a food, what is a component of a good and component of a service, we will take all of it as a service only. I hope you understand. If you cannot divide how much is a good, how much is a service, we'll take it as a service itself. That's a basic idea. That's a basic understanding. Okay, done. And there is two more. There are two more students who says, but agriculture belongs to primary sector. Let it belong to primary sector. There is a classification which is called as a primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. What is the basic idea here? What is the output in the agriculture? Value of output in the agriculture, generally we put it under primary sector. That is the reason why it is classified as primary. Do not complicate it. Please take it and go forward. Do not waste your time in all of this. Okay. Now, why there has been a growth in the services sector in India? Why service sector contributes more than 50% to GDP or GVA? What is the reason? Why there is a growth? These are the reasons. Point number one, LPG reforms, which were announced by the government of India, has attracted a lot of investment in services sector in India. All of you are okay with this statement? Point number one, I'll repeat it. Services sector, after LPG reforms, lot of the service sector where until now only government of India was allowed to operate has been opened up. Lot of foreign investment has come into services sector in India, and that is the reason there is a growth in the services sector. Second, there has been growth even in the companies now. Even in the companies which are there in manufacturing, etc., even these companies are growing. Now, as a result of this, they have started outsourcing. They have started outsourcing many of these services to private sector companies. How so? Let me give you a very simple example. Imagine, understand this carefully. Imagine you're producing this bottle. Until now, you're producing only 100 bottles. Now you will expand operation from 100 bottles. Now you will expand operations to, let's say, 1 lakh bottle. You'll produce 1 lakh bottles now. Simple question to you. Don't you think in many of these cases, rather than you purchasing lorries, you purchasing trucks to transport it, you will outsource a transportation to a service sector company? Think of it. Rather than you purchasing lot of these trucks, because expenditure will be very high, immediately expenditure will increase for you. So rather than purchasing the trucks for transportation, will you not simply ask a transportation company, logistics company to provide transportation services? Point number two, will you hire more and more employees? Now you will require more security services. So hiring security services, will you not outsource security services to somebody else in the market? Yes or no? Now you are a bigger company. You will have to get your audits, right? You will have to get your accounts audited. You'll have to get your a profit and loss statement, right, etc., audited. Will you not hire an auditing company now? Of course, yes. So now can I say, with the growth in the size of the company, more and more services will get outsourced, which means service sector is going to be promoted here. That is the second point. Third point, global trade has increased in the recent times. Now, many of you ask me, sir, how global trade is associated with service sector? Please tell me, in the international market, if there is a higher demand for the goods, can it promote a service sector in India? Let me see how many of you think logically. Imagine in the global market, demand for the goods will increase. Will it promote service sector in India? Of course, yes. Service sector will be promoted. If you ask me how, sir, how service sector will be promoted? This product is manufactured in India, let's say in a place in Madhya Pradesh. How do I take it to international market? Let me know. I will use, let's say railways, it's a service. I will use roadways, again a service. I will reach the port. I will use the ships to export it to USA. Shipping is again services only. So I hope you understand, lot of services will be promoted if there is a rise in the trade in the international market. Rise in income level also has led to higher demand for services. Of course, yes. If our incomes will increase, will you start demanding more of food delivery services? Think of it. Will you demand more of food delivery services? Will we travel more and more? So the demand for civil aviation will increase. We will go to more movies outside, let's say to Inox. We'll go to PVR, right, etc. So again, those services will be promoted. We will save more money, put it in the bank. So the demand for banking services also be increased. So higher incomes generally is associated with higher demand for services. Cheaper human labor availability. And when I say cheaper, do not take it negatively. Compared to USA, in India, labor services are available at lower prices. Very simple. Why do you think these software companies will open software units in India? Why do you think Accenture will come to India and give jobs to software engineers in India? Why do you think companies will open custom service centers, customer helping centers in India, BPOs, etc.? Why do you think they will open all of them in India? Because they know that compared to their country, labor in case of India, the cost is lesser. Very simple. The cost for the labor in India is much lower. That is the reason they will come to India, open these service sector units in India. And finally, new type of technology is promoting new type of services in India. I'll give you examples. Right, a new type of technology is also leading to production of new type of service sector. For example, please tell me, food delivery services. Don't you think the food delivery services today it is possible because of a new type of technology? All of you okay with this? Food delivery services. That is, let's say you are using Zomato, you are using Swiggy. Why do you think that is possible today? Why do you think that's possible? Because they are able to provide these kind of services because of better technology availability. Today they can find out, pinpoint, where is your address. They can, basically take your order through an app, deliver the order through an app. So I hope you understand, better technology means always there's a scope of providing new type of services to you. All of you okay with this? So don't you think all these are right perfectly applicable to India? All these factors are perfectly applicable to India, especially post 1991. That is the precise reason service sector has suddenly boomed in India, suddenly grown in India, contributes more than 50% to the GDP in India. Done? Now, what are the challenges or issues related to service sector then? What are the challenges? First one is a pandemic. Please tell me, you have seen the examples of services sector. Can I say pandemic disrupted some part of the services sector? Anybody here who says no, sir, there was no disruption in the service sector because of the pandemic? Anybody in the classroom? I'm not saying all the service sector units were affected. Most of the service sector was affected. For example, what about tourism? Right? Do you think during pandemic tourism actually boomed in India? No, tourism took a hit. Hospitality sector. What about right a civil aviation sector? Right, so lot of these sectors were affected because of the pandemic. Disruption was caused. Second one is rising barriers. Rising, right, or increasing barriers. I'll give you example of India. Please tell me, is it applicable even to Indian services? For example, if government of India will impose a licensing norms on import of laptops, don't you think service sector in China will be affected? Simple question to all of you. Please think of it. If government of India from the 1st of November, at least as of now, if government of India will impose a licensing norms on, right, let's say a licensing requirement on import of laptops, will the service sector in China be affected? Of course, yes. Because whenever you talk about a laptop or any product, right, transportation services is there, human labor services are used because human labor is outsourced, lot of services are consumed. So if you're going to ban or impose a licensing requirement, import would be affected. So shipping sector would be affected, transportation sector would be affected. So in the same way, in the last 2 to 3 years, many countries across the world have imposed a lot of these trade barriers. Not just India. India has it imposed? Of course, yes. Right? In the same way, lot of the other countries also have imposed these kind of trade barriers. Let me give you a very simple example. The government of USA, right? Government of USA increased the taxes on steel and aluminum that was exported from India by certain percentage. Will it affect steel and aluminum exports from India? Yes. Will, as a result of this, will it have certain impact on service sector in India? Again, argument is yes. All of you okay with this? Government of USA increased, right? I hope you have come across this. H1, right? H1 visa fees. Have you come across this? H1B, H1A, etc., etc. Right? These are right visas. So if government of USA increases the visa fees, don't you think this will basically make the expenditure incurred by the software companies who are sending the software engineers to USA, the expenditure will increase. If there is a restriction on how many visas will be issued, don't you think that will affect our software exports to USA? So in the last couple of years, many countries around the world have increased right the tariff barriers as well as the non-tariff barriers, and this is affecting software industry's overall service sector in India. Attracting FDI is good, no doubt. We are attracting a lot of FDI, but all the FDI that comes into India, it is mainly getting concentrated in few states and specifically in few of the areas within services sector. I'll repeat the statement. We are attracting FDI. It is good for India, no doubt. But this FDI is mainly going into few states, is mainly right going into few parts within the services sector. For example, look at the data given by the government. Look at the data. Between 2000 to 2015, between 2000 to 2015, around 15% of the FDI that has come into India has gone to software industry. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Between 2000 to 2015, around 15% of the FDI that has come into India has gone into, right, a software sector. So can I say, simple, can I say all the sectors within services are not receiving FDI? Very few sectors are receiving most of the FDI. And point number two, within this only, all the states in India are not receiving the same amount of FDI or similar FDI. Very few states, such as Karnataka, such as Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, right, such as Maharashtra, such as AP, Telangana. There are very few states which are attracting lot of EFDI, specifically within services sector. So argument is very few parts of the service sector and very few states are attracting lot of EFDI. High contribution in GDP, but compared to this, the employment generation is slightly lower. That is generally, please remember this, generally, to the GDP contribution, the service sector contribution will be more than 50%. More than 50%. But if you talk about employment, service sector accounts somewhere in the range of 25% to 30% of employment. So in terms of contribution to GDP, you are very high, but in terms of generation of employment, contribution is slightly lagging behind. That is the concern. And if you ask me, sir, how is that possible? And you will have a doubt, very valid doubt. How is that possible? If they're contributing more, generation of jobs should also be more. Not necessary. Not at all necessary. Why? Please understand, I will introduce two terms now. One is called as capital intensive. One is called as capital intensive, and the second one is called as employment intensive. Understand the logic now? One is called as capital intensive, second one is called as employment intensive. What's the basic difference? I'll give you an example. You want to set up, let's say, a thermal power production unit. Thermal means you want to purchase coal, you want to convert this into electricity. Have you heard of thermal power plants? Right? So you want to set up a thermal power plant. Please tell me, will you not invest most of the money on purchasing machinery? That is capital. You spend lot of money to set up that unit, lot of money to purchase machinery. So capital investment will be very, very high. And think of this investment, compare that with how much money you will spend on human labor. Think of it now, right? Compare that investment that you have done with the money that you spend on human labor. Can I say in this example, that is, if you want to set up a thermal power plant, most of your money will go in plant only. Fraction of the money will go for labor services. But on the other side, there are also employment intensive sectors. For example, have you heard of gems and jewelry sector? Let me know. Gems and jewelry sector. In case of India, Surat is very well known for this. Gems and jewelry sector. Right? Or another example, textile manufacturing units. Many of these are textile manufacturing units. So if you have seen gems and jewelry, lot of money is spent for labor units. If you look at the textile units, a lot of money is spent on the labor units. So these kind of sectors are called as employment intensive sectors. Employment intensive sectors. Now please tell me, think of it and do let me know. Is it possible that contribution to GDP will be higher but will not be generating more jobs in the same sector? After this, do let me know. After this explanation, please do let me know, is it possible that contribution to the GDP is higher, but you are not going to create a lot of job opportunities? Is it possible? Of course, yes. Lot of this service sector is capital intensive. Lot of this services sector is capital intensive. For example, Shipbuilding, please tell me, right? The transportation services, transportation, logistics sector. Don't you think a lot of these bigger companies, I'm not talking about smaller companies, I'm talking about bigger companies, which will provide logistic services, human labor usage for them will be very lesser compared to capital usage. Does it make sense to you? Right? Logistics sector, or for that matter, civil aviation market. And there are two students who are asking me from right morning, what is civil aviation? Civil aviation means transportation using airways, right? You're using aeroplanes for moving goods or people. In civil aviation market, please tell me, compared to money that they spend on pilots, money that they spend on, let's say, air hostess or right anybody in this, don't you think they'll spend a lot of money to purchase aeroplanes only? Right? So I hope you understand this. I hope you understand, right? You can contribute to GDP, right? Being capital intensive also, being employment intensive also. But in case of India, lot of investments are capital intensive. Lot of investments are capital intensive. And by being capital intensive, no doubt contribution to GDP will be higher, but you will not be generating lot of jobs. So that's a basic idea. That's a basic idea. Now, because I've discussed this, can I also say we'll discuss this again in the next week. But you'll have to remember this. Can I also say, if most of the investments will become capital intensive, your GDP might increase very fast, but employment will not increase very fast. Let me know. Because your investments are capital intensive, can your GDP start increasing without a faster change in your employment? Of course, yes, it can happen. Remember a term called as jobless growth. Remember, there is a term called as a jobless growth, very famous for UPSC, right? Very famous in UPSC. UPSC has multiple times the idea for jobless growth. So can I say one of the reason that can lead to jobless growth, which is in fact correct in India. One of the reason which can lead to jobless growth is investments are capital intensive. Anybody has an issue? What are the other reasons? We'll understand. Don't worry. What are the other reasons? We will understand next week. But can I say one of the reasons to have a jobless growth? Jobless growth means what? Growth is increasing at a much faster pace compared to employment. Right? GDP is increasing fast. Employment is not increasing, right, by the larger number. Very small changes in the employment. Right? That is called as jobless growth. So one of the reasons is capital intensive investments. So I hope it makes sense to you now. High contribution to GDP numbers, but right, in terms of job generation, it accounts for generally around 25% to 30% of total jobs generated. There are also a lot of sector specific issues. Lot of sector specific issues. For example, please tell me, is a telecom sector under a lot of pressure in India? Let me know. Is a telecom sector under a lot of pressure in India? Anybody who says a telecom sector is thriving in India? Absolutely wrong, my dear. In the last 1.5 decade, multiple companies in the telecom sector either have been forced to be merged or they have been forced to shut down. I hope you understand. In case of India, telecom sector means not telephone. I'm not talking about how many people having phones, etc. I'm talking about providers, service providers. At one point of time, there were more than 10 service providers in India. I hope you understand. At one point of time, there were more than 10 service providers in India. Today, countable. BSNL is there, Jio is there, and Vodafone India is there. I hope you understand. Right? Jio is there with the highest market share. BSNL is there. Vodafone India is there. And now there is a concern that even Vodafone India might get shut down because they are not able to generate profits. So I hope you understand. I hope you understand over a period of time, there's a statement. India has become a graveyard for telecom companies. I hope you understand. Right? Some of you are saying, sir, this company is also there. Okay. Right? Airtel is also there. Agreed. Right? So, Jio, BSNL, Airtel, right? And Vodafone India. 4 companies are there. So argument is, over a period of time, has there been a very large amount of stress in the sector? Of course, yes. Can I talk about the same way? Even civil aviation market in India. Even civil aviation market in India. Do you think civil aviation companies are performing wonderfully in India? Absolutely no. Absolutely no. Right? Mostly it is Indigo company which keeps on registering profit here and there. But many other companies have incurred losses continuously, have been forced to shut down. And don't even go into regional airways. Don't even go to regional airways. Regional airways means earlier there was a company in southern India, Deccan Aviation. Have you heard of it? Earlier in southern India, there was a company by the name of Deccan Civil Aviation Company. Right? It was started by Mr. Captain Gopinath. Very, very famous, by the way. In fact, there is a book written by Mr. Captain Gopinath. If you're interested, read it. If you're interested. Will UPSC ask you that? Absolutely no. Right? UPSC will not ask you that. But that company was forced to shut down. They were not able to generate sufficient revenues. So I hope you understand there are various sectors within the services area itself which have been forced to shut down, forced to be merged with others, etc. etc. Right? So these are some of the sector specific issues. Sector specific issues. Okay. Right. So these are the challenges or issues in the services sector. Now, what are the reforms? What kind of reforms have been implemented by the government in the last couple of years? One is a Startup India. We'll discuss that in a minute. Please have patience. One is a Startup India. FDI today evening we will discuss. GST. Anybody has a difficulty in GST? Right? Anybody who says, sir, how GST is a reform? Please do let me know. Right? We have discussed GST in detail. Earlier, the goods were taxed separately, services were taxed separately. Now we have only one tax, right? That is GST. Very important indirect taxation reform. So Startup India will discuss in some time. FDI will discuss in some time. There is one more reform I've written here. SEIS. What is SEIS? Right? Service exports from India. Service exports from India. From India scheme. Now, what is the basic idea of a service exports from India scheme? If you want to understand that, please tell me. In the last week, did we discuss MEIS? Let me know. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. In the last week, that is in the last weekend classes, did we discuss MEIS? I said MEIS was a scheme which was announced by the government in the foreign trade policy 2015. Earlier foreign trade policy. We had earlier foreign trade policy. We do not have it now. MEIS, SCIS, all of them have been withdrawn by the government. So government of India said MEIS is violating certain provisions of WTO. So we do not have MEIS today. Instead of MEIS, we have implemented one more scheme by the name of RODTEP, remission of duties and taxes on exported products. Now, what was the concept of MEIS? Right, let me see. What was the concept? Concept was very simple. Merchandise, that is goods, right, will be promoted. That is export of goods will be promoted, and right, government would provide certain incentives under MEIS scheme. Correct? Certain goods exports will be promoted, and government will provide incentives on the goods which are exported from India. Now, what is MEI scheme? Same concept. Nothing changes. Only changes instead of, I repeat, instead of a goods, now replace a goods with the services. Very simple. Do not complicate it. Instead of goods under service exports from India, replace goods with the services. Now under SEIS scheme, which was also part of FTP 2015, government would basically say, if you export certain services, I will provide incentives to you. If you export services, I will provide incentives. That scheme is referred to as Service Exports from India scheme. Is SEIS present today? No, Government of India has suspended it. Why? You know, right? A WTO, this agreement, that agreement, etc. All of that we have discussed last week. So Startup India will discuss now. FDI later. GST already discussed. SCIS was basically a type of a scheme to promote exports by incentivizing the exporters. That has been withdrawn. These are some of the initiatives. Now, listen to the next half an hour very carefully. Why? I'll discuss two very important reforms of Government of India. I'll discuss two very important reforms. You'll have to keep on updating these reforms as you go forward. One is a Make in India initiative. Second one is Startup India initiative. One is Make in India. Second one is a Startup India initiative. Now, what is this Make in India? Make in India, basically, it's an initiative of Government of India wherein government is promoting investment either from the domestic market or from the foreign market in 27 sectors. I'll repeat the definition. What is Make in India? It is an initiative of Government of India wherein government wants to attract domestic or foreign investments within 27 sectors. Now, many of you will ask me, sir, what are these 27 sectors? Please have a look at it. Please have a look at it. My recommendation, do not buy heart all the 27. Try to remember 2 or 3 in manufacturing, 2 to 3 in services sector. So that you will have at least 5 to 6 sectors to name if at all a question is asked on Make in India. So this is basically the definition. This is a definition. So what are the objectives? What are we trying to achieve through Make in India? These are the objectives. One, we want to attract a lot of investment. And of course, yes, we want to attract a lot of investments. And now, whether it is from the domestic market or the foreign market, doesn't matter. We want to attract it. Second one is, if you attract this investment and this will be done in India, don't you think automatically there will be promotion of employment in India? More and more jobs will be generated. Third, it will also increase production in the domestic market. And fourth, we will invest a lot of money in research and development, which means more and more intellectual property rights will be generated in India. I'll repeat the statement here. We will invest a lot of money in research and development, which means more and more intellectual property rights will be created in India. For example, more patents will be created in India. More of a copyrights will be created in India. Industrial designs will be created in India. Trademarks will be created in India. So rather than being import dependent, now we will try to achieve all of these under the concept of Make in India. Are there any targets under Make in India? Please have a look at it. The target is that we want to ensure manufacturing sector will grow annually by around 12 to 14%. It has not happened. It has not happened. And you know the reason. Main reason in the last couple of years is pandemic only. We have not been able to constantly grow at around 12 to 14% in the manufacturing sector. Second, we want to create 100 million jobs, right, from Make in India. Third, we want to increase the contribution of manufacturing sector to the overall GDP number from around 17 to 18% to around 25%. From around 17 to 18% to around 25%. If you ask me, sir, did we achieve all of them? No, we have not been able to achieve all of them. We have not been able to achieve all of them. In fact, various experts point out that, I repeat, in fact, various experts point out that after we have implemented many of these schemes, contribution of contribution of manufacturing to GDP at constant prices has actually fallen in India. I'll repeat the statement. Please understand what I'm trying to tell you. Right? When we implemented these kind of schemes, right, Make in India, PLI, etc., objective was to promote manufacturing. The experts have stated that instead of increasing the contribution to GDP to 25%, in fact, in India, contribution to GDP at constant prices has actually fallen down. As per one survey, currently, the contribution of a manufacturing sector to the GDP is in the range of 14 to 15%. It is in the range of 14 to 15%. Before we introduced this scheme, it was around 18%. It has actually fallen down to 14 to 15%. right? So rather than achieving 25%, it has actually gone down to around 14 to 15% now. Anyways, next, what are the policies, what kind of reforms we have implemented in order to promote Make in India? We have allowed a lot of these sectors to attract FDI. In most of the sectors in India, most of the sectors in India today, foreign investment is allowed. Right? For example, if you talk about, let's say, sir, what about civil aviation market? Is right FDI allowed in that? Yes, it is allowed. What about right this sector? Is it allowed to attract FDI in this? Of course, yes. Lot of these sectors today we have opened it up so that foreign investment will flow into these sectors. Second one, labor reforms have been implemented. Let me give you a current affairs connection to this. Let me see how many of you are reading newspapers. In the last couple of months, have you come across labor reforms being introduced by Tamil Nadu government, by Karnataka government? Let me see. In the last couple of months, have you come across newspaper articles where Tamil Nadu government implemented certain labor reforms? Karnataka government implemented certain labor reforms. Many other state governments, again, I'm just giving you based on current affairs. Current affairs. It's not that, sir, you always talk about Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Many other states, Rajasthan many years ago implemented labor reforms. Madhya Pradesh has implemented labor reforms. Why do you think they are implementing these kind of labor reforms? If they are implementing labor reforms, it will become easier for the foreign investors as well as the domestic investors to get more production done from the labor, right? To ensure they are finding it very easier to hire the labor, remove the labor based on their requirement, right? It will promote, I'll use a technical term now, it will promote ease of doing business. Right, so that is also one of the very important set of reforms. Goods and services tax has been implemented, right? You already know the benefit of GST. Corporate tax rate has been reduced from 30% to 22%. And with many of these reforms, we have been able to promote, right, ease of doing business as well. Right, so these are some of the policies or reforms which have been implemented by the government. Again, these are some of it, not all of them, not all of them, some of the reforms. And as you keep on reading newspapers, you keep on adding more and more reforms to this. Okay, so these are some of the reforms which have been implemented by the government to promote Make in India. So what has been the achievement of these right initiatives? One, we have been able to attract more and more FDI into India. That's a fact. We have been able to attract more and more FDI. In fact, please remember this. Whenever you talk about FDI, global rankings are generally provided. India generally, I repeat, India generally is in the top 10 countries in terms of attracting FDI. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Right? How do you prove that India's attraction in terms of foreign investment has increased? Based on how much FDI flows into different countries, rankings are provided. India is in the top 10 countries generally, which means India attracts a lot of foreign direct investment. So we have been able to attract a lot of FDI. Ease of doing business has improved now. And many of the individual sectors, foreign investors have come. Individual sectors competition has improved, right? The performance of the sector has improved, etc. Many individual sectors also have benefited because of Make in India. But what are the concerns? What are the issues? Are there any concerns regarding these kind of policies of government of India? Point number one, please do let me know whenever government will change any other policy. I'll give you a current affairs connection. Whenever government will make changes to any other policy, don't you think such policies such as Make in India will be affected by other policies? Many of you will ask, how, sir? How is that possible? Right? Let me give a very simple example. The recent decision of Government of India to impose a licensing restriction on laptop manufacturing or laptop importing. Please tell me, if government will start imposing these kind of restriction, licensing requirement, will it not have an impact on Make in India initiative? Think of it. Please do think of it, right? Why? Many of the experts have criticized this policy. Many of the experts have criticized this decision of government of India. Otherwise, why do you think the date was actually postponed to 1st of November? Why do you think government of India initially said immediately will start imposing it, but later said no, not immediately, we'll start it from 1st of November? Why do you think they did it? There was a huge backlash. Experts said this is not the right way to approach the this kind of a sector. This is not the right way. Why? You expect a lot of foreign investments to come in the coming days. Already a lot of foreign investors are there in India. Now you will suddenly change a policy like this. So foreign investors will be petrified by that. They'll be concerned with these kind of policies. They'll simply say, today I'm going to invest. Think of it. Imagine you're a manufacturer. You're manufacturing this bottle today. Under Make in India, you brought in money, you invested in India, you're manufacturing this bottle today. But to manufacture this bottle, steel is not available in India. You'll import steel. Let's say hypothetically, you'll import steel. Now, what is the guarantee that government of India tomorrow will simply put a restriction on importing of steel? Let me know. What is the guarantee? Is there any guarantee that government will not do it? There is no guarantee. So I hope you understand, investors with these kind of policies always will be petrified. They'll be concerned. Because today government will say make in India, you'll bring money, invest in India. But what if tomorrow government of India will say, if you import this raw material, you'll have to take a license. You'll import this machinery, take a license. Can they change policies? Of course, yes. Control is there with the government. So what about your investment? Right? So I hope you understand these kind of various policies, tariff on the imports, licensing regime on some of the imports, etc. These will never do any favor to the country. And that's a reason many of the economists, I'll take a name of the economist, Mr. Arvind Panigeria. Very famous. Mr. Arvind Panigeria. Mr. Arvind Subramaniam. All these are very well-known economists, and all of them are always of the viewpoint that if you want to promote competitiveness in India, the right way is to open the market, not to impose restrictions on the market. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Right? Their argument is, if India wants to become a developed country, if India wants to become competitive in the international market, the right way will be to open the market, right? To promote more competition, not to restrict, close the market like this. Right? For example, can I say import licensing regime of government of India is restrictive in nature? Yes or no? Import licensing is restrictive in nature. So rather than promoting competition in India, rather than asking them to become more competitive compared to international market, you are simply making it difficult to import into India. Does it guarantee that Indian market will become more competitive? Think of it. Is the policy, again only this policy, I'm looking at only one policy. Will that only one policy, does it guarantee that Indian market will become competitive? No, it will never guarantee that. In fact, it might make the companies more inefficient, because now there is no threat of import. I hope you understand. Now there is no threat of import only. Threat in the sense, imports, trust me, will come down drastically with licensing. Importing will come drastically down with the licensing regime. Right? Unlike earlier situation where no licensing was required, you can simply import the product into India. And moreover, these kind of supply chains cannot be developed immediately in any country. Remember this, I'm doing a critical evaluation of government policies. Critical evaluation. What are the benefits? What are the concerns? Right? I'm talking about concerns, then I'll come to the benefit. These kind of supply chain cannot be developed in a span of 3 months. You will not be able to do that. For example, you want to manufacture a laptop. Don't you think you'll require multiple components to manufacture laptop? So do you think we'll be able to develop all these capacities within a span of 3 months? No, it will take a very longer period, which means now for supply chain to ensure all of these components are supplied, cost would be higher, which means cost of manufacturing would also be higher. So who will bear the burden of higher cost of laptops? Who will bear the burden of higher cost of PCs? You and me. I hope you understand. You and me, we will bear the burden of all of it. Right? And moreover, right? One more criticism related to this policy is that if you look at the overall exports as well as imports in India, if you talk about overall exports and imports right, are more than $600 billion, more than 600, $700 billion into India. What was the import value of laptops, PCs, etc.? Around $6 to $7 billion. I hope you understand. What was the value of imports of these 7 products on which we are imposing a licensing regime? Around $6 to $7 billion. Just a fraction of total imports. So what are we trying to achieve with this kind of a policy? Okay, so these are some of the concerns. But on the other side, what are the benefits? What are the benefits we are looking at? Tell me now, our import dependence will come down. How much? Don't worry. Please tell me. Our import dependence will come down. Second, rather than importing, if I manufacture in the domestic market, Atmanirbharata, self-reliance will be promoted. If you are promoting manufacturing of these products in India, will it not lead to more investments in India? Will it not promote employment generation in India? If we are reducing the imports, don't you think outflow of dollars will also come down? So these are some of the benefits. These are some of the benefits of this kind of a policy, concerns related to this kind of a policy. So I've given you a critical evaluation, right? Please use these kind of concepts to write your answers in the exam. Now come to the point here, make in India. Higher tariff on imports is never good for a country. And please understand, government of India has been doing this. It has been doing this. In order to promote manufacturing, they are imposing more taxes on the import. But doesn't matter if the imports are essential. If there is no production capacity available, I will import it at a higher price. I will increase the market price of the product. Customer will feel the burden of it. Second one, what has happened to unemployment rate? Unemployment rate in India still is at a higher level. We wanted to create 100 million jobs. Did we create 100 million jobs? No, we were not able to create 100 million jobs under Make in India. In fact, unemployment rate in India is also still higher. Third one, industrial growth rate. Right, I've told you this already. On an average manufacturing sector, we wanted to ensure it will grow by 12 to 14% annually under Make in India. We have not been able to achieve it because of internal as well as external factors. There are 27 sectors covered under this. 27. Experts say that is a very large number of sectors. Rather than 27, number should have been lower so that government could have focused properly on all of these sectors. And finally, if you promote manufacture in India and there is a recession in European market, don't you think your exports would be affected? If you promote manufacturing service sector in India, if there is a pandemic in China, if there's a pandemic in USA, don't you think your exports and imports would be affected? Your industrial activity would be affected, right? Your employment would be affected, etc. So lot of external factors also have affected, right, the performance of Make in India. Done. So this is basically the complete picture regarding, right, the Make in India. Now please tell me, if you have a mind map like this and if you keep on updating, is it easier for you to revise? It will take time, right? Don't say, sir, but it will take time to prepare mind map. Of course, yes, it will take time. But if you make a mind map once, is it easier for you to revise? And don't you think for many questions you can derive the answer using this mind map? For example, question number 1. Discuss Make in India initiative. Can you get the answer from the mind map? Question number 2. Critically evaluate Make in India initiative. Can you get the answer from this? Point number 3. Though Make in India initiative has been implemented for over 7 years, even today there are certain issues related to the initiative. Elaborate in 250 words. Can you use a mind map here? So I hope you understand, right? I hope you understand. From the first day itself, I've been telling you this. Even today, I will tell you the same thing. Try to prepare mind maps. It will take time initially. When you're preparing it for the first time, it will take time. But in the future, it will help you in easy revision. Trust me, it will help you in easy revision. Now come to the next point. Startup India Initiative. Come to the next one. Startup India Initiative. Now, what is this idea of a Startup India Initiative? Please understand this. The government of India, right, based on the definition, will identify the startups. How? What is the definition? There are 3 very important parameters. Point number 1, the startup is a company which is registered under one of the 3 laws of Government of India. I'll repeat the statement here. Startup means it's a company. It's a company which is supposed to be registered under one of the 3 laws. What are the 3 laws? First one, it should be registered under the Companies Act. It should be registered under Companies Act. If not, they are supposed to be registered under Partnership Act. Partnership Act of 1932. They are supposed to be registered under Partnership Act. If not under the Companies Act or Partnership Act, they will have to be registered under Limited Liability Partnership Act. Limited Liability Partnership Act, LLP, Limited Liability Partnership Act, right? Partnership Act 2008. So there are 3 laws. There are 3 laws. One is a Companies Act of 2013, Partnership Act of 1932, or Limited Liability Partnership Act of 2008. So if you want to be identified as a startup by Government of India, so that they will provide you certain benefits, you will have to be registered. That is point number 1. Point number 2, the company should not be more than 10 years old. I'll repeat the statement. The company from the date of incorporation. Incorporation means from which date company was established. Company was registered. So from the date of incorporation, company should not be more than 10 years old. Meaning what? Let me ask you a very simple question. You tell me. If I understand this, if a company was registered back in the year 2016, is it eligible to be recognized as a startup by Government of India? Please do let me know. I'll repeat the statement. If the company was incorporated, incorporated means established. So when it was established in 2016, is it eligible to be recognized as a startup by Government of India? Yes. If the company was established back in the year 2010, will Government of India recognize this as a startup? No. Government will not recognize. In the market, this can be called as a startup. But Government of India will not recognize this as a startup. Benefits will not be provided by the government. That's the meaning. Government will not provide benefits. If the company was established in 2021, is it eligible for recognition as a startup by Government of India? Again, answer is yes. Again, answer is simply yes. So first point, it should be registered. Point number 2, from the date of incorporation, the company should not be more than 10 years older. Third point, in any of the years, for example, imagine it was established in 2016. So what was the revenue in 16 and 17? What was the revenue in 17 and 18? What was the revenue in 18 and 19? So in individual years, the revenue should not have crossed more than 100 crore rupees. The revenue of the company should not have crossed more than 100 crore rupees. So if you meet all the 3 criteria, I repeat, if you meet all the 3 criteria, only then Government of India shall recognize you as a startup under this initiative. Because please understand, when you're recognized as a startup, certain benefits are provided by the government. That's the only reason. Now, what is the need? Why should we identify, promote startups, etc.? Point number one, there is a lot of employment generation that will be done by the startups. That is common for everyone. Lot of investment will be attracted. Lot of research and development can be done by these startups. They will generate a lot of job opportunities. But please understand, startups generally are referred to as new age businesses. Startups are generally referred to as new age businesses. What do you mean by new age businesses? These companies will start providing either a good or a service which is not traditionally provided by others. Very simple idea. New age means these companies will provide either a good or a service to you which were not traditionally present in the market earlier. For example, sir, any example? Let me give you a very simple example. Food delivery services. Can I call it as a new age business? Let me know. Food delivery business, can I call it as new age business? Please participate. We'll continue. We'll cover this and then we'll stop for the lunch. Don't worry. Some of you are worried about lunch. Even I'm hungry. I'm pretty sure most of you are hungry. In fact, many of you have been eating continuously during the class, but I can't do that. So, right, we'll finish this. Then we'll take the lunch break. Please don't worry. So come to the point here. Can I say, right, Ola services is a new age business. So idea of this is startups are involved mainly in the new age businesses which were not earlier covered by traditional businesses. That is the precise reason we need to promote startups in India. So generation of employment, new age business, investment will be there, right? It will promote competition as well as they will invest a lot of money, right, in creating technology, in creating patents, in creating copyrights, designs, etc. That is the precise reason government of India is targeting startups in India. Next, what are the provisions then? How are we promoting startups in India? Through this scheme, how are we promoting? Point number one, Government of India says if you're identified or recognized as a startup by me for 3 consecutive years, within 10 years, I will give you 100% tax exemption. I'll repeat the statement here. Right? I'll repeat the statement. If you are recognized as a startup by me, that is by government, right, under the Startup India initiative for 3 consecutive years within the 10-year time period, I will give you 100% tax exemption. That is any profit you generate. Any profit you generate, right, basically I will not collect any taxes on the profit that you have generated for 3 consecutive years. Meaning, imagine you started, right, a startup in 2021. You can simply tell the government 22, 23, I will not pay any corporate taxes. 23, 24, 24 and 25. 3 consecutive years, you will not be asked to pay any corporate taxes. But again, please remember, you should be recognized as a startup by the government. Okay, next, IP applications are being fast tracked. Right? What do you mean by this? Imagine you apply for a patent. You apply for a patent. Generally in case of India, for the whole process to be over, right, again you don't worry about the process, right? The process is very lengthy. Patent inspectors are there, patent board is there, so there is a process. You will have to file for a patent and the process will be followed. In case of India, to get a patent, multiple years are needed. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. In India, to file for the patent and get a patent in your name, multiple years are required. But Government of India says if it is a startup, then I will fast track it. Fast track it means I will try to reduce the time period which is taken for giving a patent. I will try to ensure that within 12 months, within 15 months, within 18 months, patents would be provided to the startups. Right? So fast tracking of applications has been introduced. In fact, under this, whenever you file a patent application, you will have to pay certain charges. Very simple idea. whenever you will file for the patent application, you will have to pay certain charges. Government of India says, I will return the charges as well. I will return the charges as well. Right? For the startups, I will fast track the patent application, and whatever charges you are paying for filing the patent, I will refund those charges. Next one, self-certification. What is this idea of a self-certification? Imagine you are the government of India. I am starting a company. So point number one, how will you find out whether I'm implementing all the labor laws? Please let me know. How will you find out whether I'm implementing all the labor laws? How will you find out whether I'm implementing all the environmental laws as well? Is there any way for you to find out without appointing certain people to inspect my company? So what you will do? You will generally appoint inspectors, that is, let's say, environmental officials will be there, right? The, let's say, labor, right, officials will be there, who will inspect my company, and they'll basically say, okay, these are the violations, so we will impose a penalty on you. This is generally the process. But do let me know, because of this process, can there be, I'm not saying it is happening, can there be harassment of the startups? Possible? Can there be harassment of the startups? That is, can there be, right, let's say, corruption in the system? Can there be, right, opaqueness in the system? Because the government literally cannot go to the factory and see what these officials are doing. So there can be harassment. How do we reduce that incidence? How do we ensure that these companies will follow the guidelines but without any harassment by the officials? That is the reason government for the startups has introduced the concept of self-certification. What happens in the self-certification? You will, that is the startups will give a declaration to the government. Very simple. Self-certification is nothing but declaration. The startups will give a declaration to the government saying that whatever laws they are supposed to follow, all the laws they are following. Simple. They are giving a self-declaration. They are giving a declaration to the government that they are following all the laws. So that right now there is no requirement of inspection. Harassment automatically will be lower. Right. So this is a self-certification. Next one is a concept of fund of funds. Understand, slightly tricky here. Fund of funds. What is this fund of funds? Startups require a lot of funding. That's a fact. Startups require lot of funding. Now, please tell me, can Government of India directly start owning startups in India? Let me see how many of you think that's a very good idea. Do you think Government of India will provide funding for the startups and start owning certain percentage in the startups? That is not the duty of Government of India. That is never the duty of Government of India. And they should not do it. Why? If the government will start investing and start owning 20%, 40% in startups, right, don't you think it is basically the model of public sector company only? I hope you understand. It's a model of public sector organization. So they will not do this. But fact is, startups require a lot of funding. In fact, please do let me know, have you people in recent times come across a term called as a funding winter? Let me know. Have you people come across a term called as funding winter in the recent times? In this year itself. This has become very famous now. What do you mean by funding winter? Until couple of years ago, startups were able to generate a lot of funds. I'll repeat it. Until couple of years ago, startups were able to generate a lot of funds. Investors were investing left, right, center in many of these startups. But now, especially this year, many of the startups are struggling to find investors in the market. Is it okay? Many of the startups are struggling to find investors in the market. This is called as funding winter. And that is the precise reason. Please do let me know. Have you come across newspaper articles wherein many of the startups are laying off employees? Let me know. Many of the startups are laying off the employees. They are basically removing the employees. Why? They are not able to generate funds. They are not able to collect funds. And please remember this, startups will take lot of time to earn profits. I hope you understand my point here. Startups take a lot of time to earn profit. Immediately, they will not earn profit. Why? Expenditures will be very high. Expenditures will be very high, but revenues will come very slowly for the startups. That is the precise reason, right? The startups are finding it very difficult to generate investments now, collect capital in the market now, right? That you can write as an issue for Startup India in India. But anyways, come back to this. What is this fund of funds? The model that has been set up by Government of India is very simple. Government of India has kept a certain amount of money by the name of Startup India Fund. Okay, there is a fund by the name of Startup India Fund. Now, from this Startup India Fund, money will be given to certain financial institutions. I repeat, from this Startup India Fund, money will be given to financial institutions. These financial institutions will invest in startups. Any problem in this model? Please do let me know. Right, the Startup India Fund has been created. Money from the fund will be given to financial institutions. Now, if you ask me, sir, what kind of financial institutions will get the money here? There are certain types of financial institutions by the name of alternative investment funds. Have you heard of this? Alternate investment funds, AIFs. Alternate investment funds. Right, again, just a basic idea. Do not start reading everything about AIFs. Right, AIFs are alternate investment funds. Right, these are created. These are NBFCs. These are created, and right, remember, these will come under the regulation of SEBI, which will collect a lot of money from the investors and invest in the market. Is it okay? Similar to mutual funds. I'll repeat it. Similar to mutual funds. But please understand, in alternate investment fund, only rich people invest. I hope you understand my point here. Alternate investment fund, these are regulated by SEBI. These are also pool of investments. Do you remember mutual funds? Mutual funds is also pool of investment. Here also it is a pool of investment, but it is not open for a common man. It is not offered to you and me. Generally, there are a lot of restrictions to pool investments under AIF. For example, generally they will say, if you want to invest in AIF, your annual income should be more than 50 lakh rupees. Your annual income should be more than 50 lakh rupees. So do you think Aam Aadmi, a common man such as me, we can invest in AIFs? No, we are not allowed to invest in AIFs. Lot of conditions are there. Your annual income should be this much, your annual revenue should be this much, etc., etc. Only then you are allowed to invest in AIFs. Right, so AIF model is famous in India now, but it is not open to everyone. This is open to only very rich investors in the market. Right, so that is basically the concept of AIF. There are three categories in the AIF: category 1, category 2, category 3, etc. Now come back to this here. What is the logic? What is the logic of fund of funds? Government of India has set up a fund, Startup India Fund, and money from the Startup India Fund will be given to the financial institutions, that is alternate investment funds, who will invest in the startups. That is the precise reason this is called as fund of funds. This is not just a fund, it is a fund of funds. That is, the fund is not directly investing in startups. Through through the FIs, they are investing in the startups. That is basically fund of funds. Next one is a faster exit policy. If you want to close a startup, so there is a process that you're supposed to follow. Please remember this. For many of you, closing a startup means you will simply lock the office. Many of you believe that that is closure. No, my dear. Can I say exit, that is closure of the company, means you will have to cancel your electricity connection, Correct or not? You will have to ensure that whatever outstanding payments you owe to the government, you will have to clear all these outstanding payments. You will have to cancel your water connection. You will have to go to the authority and remove your name from the registration. So please understand that there is a process that you are supposed to follow when you say company is closed. Do not be under the impression that closure or exit means you will close the gate, you will lock the gate and go home. No, right? That is not closure. That is not exit of the company. Exit means all these processes you will have to complete. So for the startups, a faster exit process of 90 days has been introduced by the government. And finally, do you remember public procurement policy? Remember this. Do you remember public procurement policy? What is a public procurement policy? The central government ministry, departments, and undertakings, 25% of the procurement will happen from micro and small enterprises. So government says, even in the context of public procurement norms, certain relaxations will be provided to startups. They can also participate whenever the government will go for public procurement. Okay, so these are right. These are basically right certain provisions under Startup India initiative. Now, what has been the achievement? India has one of the highest number of startups in the world. Please remember this. Right? They will simply say India has the third largest startup ecosystem. India has the fourth largest startup ecosystem. Meaning what? Number of startups in India are one of the highest in the global market. And within the startups, we also have attracted a lot of foreign investments, right? We have attracted a lot of foreign investment, a lot of domestic investment as well. Number of intellectual property right applications, that is patent applications, have actually increased in India thanks to Startup India initiative. But having said so, are there any concerns regarding it? Are there any concerns? Of course, yes. Lot of the startups today, even today, they are facing funding issues. They are able to create a model, right? I hope you understand. They are able to create a model, but they are not able to scale up the model. I'll explain what is the meaning of it. They are able to create a product. Imagine this is a product created by a startup. But don't you think what is equally important is they should be able to ensure that cost of the product is lower in the market? Yes or no? Cost of this product should be lower in the market. Otherwise, if the product cost is very, very high, will they be able to sell it to more consumers in the market? So argument is very simple. They are using technology, they are creating products, good or a service, but they are not able to scale the product. Scale the product means they are not able to reduce the cost so that consumer base for this is very, very high in India. Right? That is one of the problems for startups in India. And that is also one of the reason why they will not be able to continue to operate in India and they will shut down over a period of time. Can I give you a current affairs example? Can I give you a current affairs example? Have you seen this particular model of quick delivery, quick commerce? I'm pretty sure most of you have used quick commerce services now. What do you mean by quick commerce services? We will deliver the product in 10 minutes. Correct? We'll deliver the product in 10 minutes. Right? Don't you think many of the companies which started this, now they are not able to scale up their operations? Scale up means initially they said 10 minutes I will provide it to you. Today they are delivering it in half an hour. They are delivering it in 20 minutes. They are delivering it in 18 minutes. I hope you understand scalability. Scalability is very important for them because argument is simple, right? Tell me where they can scale up their operations. Where they can scale up their operation. Imagine this is the store and this is the delivery person. What is the scale for this company? Taking 10 deliveries in one shot and delivering all the 10 products in one locality, or taking one delivery of the product and ensuring within 10 minutes the product is delivered. So don't you think they will be able to scale their operations in the first example, not in the second example? So when they say guaranteed within 10 minutes, I will deliver the product, there's a constant there. What is the constant? Right? The constant is how much is the distance? How many orders are there? Right? Whether the order is only for, let's say, a packet of biscuit, whether the order is for minimum 200 rupees, etc. Right? So there are a lot of constraints regarding this idea of a quick commerce. And don't be surprised if some of these companies will stop the idea of a quick commerce and shift to the idea of a, let's say, delivery within 2 hours, delivery within right 30 minutes, etc. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if they do that, because scalability is a problem for them. They cannot scale their operations. Done? Right? So funding is a problem for them. Very few startups are getting the benefit of the policy, and very few of the startups, because many of the startups are finding it very difficult to generate a model, finding it very difficult to sustain competition. They are getting shut down, they are getting merged into or purchased by another company, etc., etc. And finally, even today in India, to get a patent registered in your name, it is generally taking higher time period. Even today in India, to get a patent registered in your name, it is taking higher time period. That's a fact. Now, if you want to study, sir, what is the patenting process? I can see some of the students are very enthusiastic. Tell me how the patenting process is done in India. Tell me why the patenting process is so high. Simple reference to you. This year's economic survey, there's a chapter where they have discussed a whole patenting process. Read it. But I can tell you with certainty, UPSC is not going to ask you that. UPSC is never going to ask you what is the process of patenting in India. Explain it. They will not ask you that. But if you want to read it, this year's economic survey, there's a chapter and they've covered the patenting issue in India in detail. You can read it. Done? Okay, so these are some of the very important points regarding the concept of Startup India policy. So this is the end of the chapter for you people. Next is basically the discussion on questions. We'll discuss the questions for this chapter as well as agriculture sector in the second session. I will not discuss it now. Okay, now before I take a break, if there are any concerns regarding what I've discussed, please do let me know so that I can basically address it, then take a break. Suggest a few non-fiction books. I will suggest it. Okay, if you are asking, I'll suggest it. Not today, but next week. Next week is my last class. So at the end of the class, I'll tell you certain non-fiction books. But please understand, if your argument is it necessary for reading? Is it a necessary reading for UPSC? No. I will never say that this is necessary. Okay, just to develop a habit, just to make it much more interesting. If you're interested, you can read it. Okay. If someone is opening a cafe, so is this a new age business or not? Right? Cafe is not a new age business, but it is a startup. It is a startup, but it is not a new age business. Cafe is a very old model in India. Okay. Public procurement. What is the meaning? Government of India has certain policy such as public procurement policy. Under public procurement policy, if you remember the earlier policy that we have discussed, we are targeting micro and small enterprises. So government simply says, when I'm implementing the public procurement policy, I will relax certain norms so that I'll be able to procure even from the startups. That is the basic idea. Can we watch economic survey given in the tablet? Is it useful for 2024? No. If you're asking me, is it useful for 2024? It is not useful. Okay, what should be the steps to increase use of PIRP? Government of India has to give certain guarantees there. Certain guarantees that if these kind of decisions are taken, etc., right, only then the banking sector will be more interested towards a concept of PIRP. Otherwise, I don't think so. They'll be much interested. What is quick commerce? Quick commerce is basically a business strategy wherein the products that you have ordered will be delivered to you within very short period of time. For example, if you are using Blinkit, Blinkit says we will deliver the product to you within 10 minutes. That's a quick commerce. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Otherwise, we can take a break now. Anything else? Can we use tablet lectures to revise? Of course you can use it, but you might have observed it by now. If you are using tablet videos, you might have observed one thing. Whatever I've discussed in the tablet and what I'm discussing in the classroom, there is a gap. There is certain difference. Why? Right, from time to time, I'll keep on revising my PPTs. From time to time, I'll keep on changing certain concepts. That is a precise reason. Right, the lectures in the tablet will be slightly different compared to, right, whatever you're seeing in the classroom. For example, many of the students who are from the last month batch, or let's say previous batch, last year batch, they simply keep on telling me this was not covered in the last session, this was not covered in the last batch. Because please understand, economy is not static. Economy is not static. Economy is very dynamic. What is important today may not be important after 1 month. So I will remove part of the coverage and I'll bring in new concepts. That will keep on happening. Okay, done. So let me stop the discussion now. Let me stop the discussion now. Take a lunch break. We'll restart the discussion after the lunch break. Okay. So we'll restart the discussion at 2:30 p.m. We'll restart the discussion at 2:30 p.m. today. Okay. So take a lunch break now.